it's, they're more important than most people. Put the mask on and walk out of the arena.
Denny, are you okay up there? Okay, let me just double check. Oh, my mic's feeding back. Anybody else want to do a sound check? Hi, Kurt. Oh, Kurt, I like your tie. Check, check. That's much better. It's still pretty loud though. Ooh, yeah, it's still feeding back. Check, 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 check. That's better. Everybody ready? Denny, you ready? Is that a yes? Oh, it is a yes. Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Mason, our first meeting of the new year. It's time to call this January 11th, 2021 meeting to order. Lisa, could you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Chance.
Here.
Councilmember Nelson.
Here.
Councilmember Bradburn.
Here.
Councilmember Stricula.
Here.
Vice Mayor Gilb. Councilmember Hunterlaw.
Here.
Mayor Grossman.
Here. Thank you. We are going to have our law director read a motion, and we'll be dealing with a topic in executive session. We're going to have him read the motion, and that needs to be followed by a so moved in a second. We'll call the roll, and we will adjourn into executive session in just a moment. Our goal is to return to all of you by 6 o'clock tonight. Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor. We would request a motion to adjourn into executive session to consider confidential information related to the marketing plans, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance pursuant to the terms of Ohio Revised Code Section 121.22 G8, and that such executive session is necessary to protect the interests of the applicant or the possible investment or expenditure of public funds to be made in connection with the economic development project.
Second.
All right. Vice Mayor Gilb made the motion. It was seconded by Member Bradburn, and now we need to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Nelson.
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn.
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb.
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw.
Yes.
Mayor Grossman.
Yes.
Councilmember Chance.
Yes.
We're almost ready. I need a motion to reconvene into regular session.
So moved?
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to open things up the way we always do. We're going to begin with a prayer. If you could stand with us, and we'll follow that immediately with the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Vice Mayor is going to fill in for our chaplain tonight who could not be here. Vice Mayor Gilb?
Yes, please join me in prayer. I did want to mention that we want to remember tonight Gerald Pelfrey, the father of one of our chaplains here, Jerry Pelfrey. His father passed away, and also J.J. Day, a third grader in our community who suddenly passed away. But let's just go to the Lord in prayer. Lord Jesus, we just thank you for your comfort, your guidance. Father, we pray for the Pelfrey families, not tonight. We pray for the Day family tonight, Father. We ask that you comfort them in this time. And Lord, be with us as we deliberate on city business. Thank you for the opportunities you have brought our way. Continue to bless us and strengthen us as a city and a community, and continue to bless our nation. In your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vice Mayor, and thank you to all of our guests today. I'm so pleased to see this room full. That's wonderful. We have a lot on the agenda tonight, not a long meeting, but some exciting things to tell you about. But first, we need to deal with item number 5, which is the approval of the minutes from our December 14th council meeting. I need a motion to approve the minutes from December 14th council meeting.
Mayor,
Yes.
I'm sorry, but there is a correction I need to point out in the minutes that were included in your packet.
Oh, there is. Okay, tell us all about it.
On page 8, under old and new business, the second paragraph should read a motion to suspend council discussion regarding executive session. Was made, seconded, and passed with a vote of 6.
Okay, does anyone have an issue with that amendment? Do we need to make a formal motion to amend it?
Correct. That's a correction we should have made on our end. I think if you vote to adopt, then
Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Do we have any abstentions? All right, moving along. Item 6, we have an economic development update, and I'm going to let our city manager, Mr. Hanson, kick us off. It's a little bit hard to hear you. Thank you.
First of all, just want to apologize to council as well as the public. We did have to kind of reorient the agenda and start a meeting a bit earlier to accommodate a special project that we've been working on. Michelle Blair with our Economic Development Department has been working on. This will facilitate moving that forward. With that, I'd like to introduce Michelle to discuss the project and prepare council for action.
Thank you, Eric. You hear me? Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's good to see you again. Tonight is a pretty exciting opportunity for us to be able to discuss something that often in economic development happens, which is the long game, where we begin discussing and looking at options and hoping that at some point we'll find a good marriage where the City of Mason has something to offer that is going to best serve the needs of a client that we think will also be very exciting for the city. So with that, I'm going to introduce our guests. I'm going to say just a few words, and then I'm going to invite them to come up and speak to you. So welcome. And with us, we have Dave Fixie. Dave is the Cincinnati president for Mercy Health, part of Bon Secours Mercy Health. And to his left, Dan McCarthy is the vice president of development And to Dan's left is Nick Wessels, who is development manager. And just behind Nick is Jim McGraw. Jim McGraw is principal with KMK and part of the region's economic development success. So thank you all for being here with us tonight at our first meeting of 2020. The project that we're going to talk about is Mercy Health. And I think I just want to give you three pieces of the puzzle when we think about economic development that make a big difference for this project. And the first one is culture of wellness. The city of Mason, for more than a decade, has really been seeding, nurturing this culture of wellness that at first we thought was a pretty neat idea and has become part of policy making almost across all city departments and all city business. I think pretty much anything that the city council adopts and votes on, and anything in economic development and recreation, all really plays a role in how we feel about nurturing a culture of wellness. And what it has become even further is a way for investment that comes here to the city. Businesses are able to translate the things that they do into kind of direct relationship with the residents, you know, a real community benefit. Sometimes it's a, you know, adoption of a new technology that we're able to test or roll out here. Sometimes it's a technology from a company that helps with workforce training and finding some guidance for students in the sciences and STEM. So we've gotten pretty good at this, and it's interesting. It has really made Mason a pretty rich place as we continue to find new ways to celebrate culture of wellness. So I think this is a fantastic fit for that culture between the ways that we make decisions and the business development that happens here. The second thing is, you know, investment. This is a fantastic investment in the city, and I think Dan is probably going to say a few words about the metrics of the project, which we can come back and talk about when I come back up at the end. But the investment that Mercy's proposing to make in the city is significant on a campus type development. So I'm not going to be go too deep into that, but the investment in job creation, of course, that's a cornerstone of things that have made Mason strong. And this absolutely checks that box. And I think lastly, one thing that drives the city of Mason's success and energy, and you know, I think it, you know, it propagates, you know, more investment in this area is innovation and research. And we spend a lot of time trying to attract and work with young companies and innovative companies and grow startups that fit into some key markets. And as we've learned a lot about each other, this is also, you know, really a huge priority for Bon Secours Mercy, and I'm sure we can learn some things from you, and we're looking forward to some opportunity to partner in that regard. So with those three things, I'm going to ask Dave to come up and maybe give us a tour of the introduction.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Mayor and City Council. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about what Michelle mentioned, and that's Bon Secours Mercy Health, and what has happened to our organization and really over the past 3 years. And Mercy has had a strong history here in Cincinnati. We have 5 acute care facilities, you know, 4 freestanding EDs, and a very, very big footprint. And that extended to 23 hospitals across the state within Mercy Health. So a strong Ohio footprint and a couple of facilities down in Kentucky. About 3 years ago, we had the opportunity to merge with a company called Bon Secours. Their mission, their culture was very, very similar to ours. And so we expanded greatly during that time and basically doubled in size. And we took it from what I would say is a hospital company that was in Ohio to a hospital company that was in multiple states. Since that time, we've become international. We now own 5 facilities in Ireland. And so our footprint continues to grow from the delivery of healthcare across multiple states. And I see that continuing to be a direction that our company takes in the future. But beyond the delivery of acute care services, our company, through the direction and the leadership of John Starcher, has really gone beyond the treating of the sick and treating of the ill, although that's a main portion of our business. But we've really looked at the future of healthcare. And what I'm so excited about and proud about is when I first met Michelle, she talked about biohealth and innovation. And our company has an entire division that is focused on innovation and investing and partnering with businesses that are going to drive the healthcare future, both from a standpoint of a product and at times from an app, from a standpoint of who knows what. And so that investment has led to many relationships, and we really see that as an opportunity for us to work with the Mason in the future, both, and what that exactly is, we don't know, but we know our companies are aligned to do such a thing. And then beyond that, just to give you a couple of examples of what has happened is we look at our what we do well, and we see how we can invest in what we do well, and then we almost monetize it and find ways to then bring it, that product to the market. So one of the things that's just happening this week is our supply chain is going to be separated into its own separate company, and it's going to become its own GPO. So not only can they offer that supply chain efficiency and effectiveness to Bon Secours Mercy, but they can start to build a company around that. Our large example of that is a revenue cycle company that was purchased in 2016, maybe 2015. That revenue company grew tremendously. I don't even know how many thousands of employees are now in Blue Ash, but that I think it was purchased for right around $300 million and was we retained 49%, 51% of this company was sold to a venture capitalist for about $1.4 billion about 3 years later. So those are the types of opportunities. I don't think we can duplicate that one, but those are the opportunities that we are looking at, both from the standpoint of how do you successfully operate a hospital company, but also from the standpoint of what type of new innovations can support the patients and the people we serve. And then at the final front, and I'll talk about from this project is why here, why now. And we have grown with what we call population health, a division of our company that is taking on risk contracts, working with insurance companies, and really going to what Michelle talked about earlier. How do we keep people healthy? And so we have dozens and dozens of people that are working with our patient base to find ways to keep them out of the hospital, keep them out of the emergency department, find ways to have them have preventative care that leads them to have more healthy lifestyles and keeps them from having an acute episode. That's grown to over 150,000 of our population in Cincinnati alone. And many of those patients live in this area. And so what we're really looking to do is bring some bricks and mortar to the patients that we already serve. And that type of growth, and it's going to occur across the country, is going to continue. And eventually, I think that's the way healthcare is going to be delivered in the future. It's really, how do you flip it from an economically viable model to keep people healthy? And that's going to happen over time. And that's going to, I think, help us very much, not only in Cincinnati, but across our company. So it's a pleasure to be here tonight. I'm excited about this opportunity. At the same time, I'm really, really excited about the partnership that we're looking to extend to the city of Mason. So thank you.
Sorry, I'm quite a bit shorter than Dave. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Mayor, council members. Thank you so much for having us. I'd like to start off by saying, once again, my name is Dan McCarthy. I'm Vice President of Real Estate Development for Bon Secours Mercy Health. And I'd like to chat with you just a little bit about the details of this project. But before I do so, I just want to talk about history a little bit. And I want to talk about our partnership because we're really excited about this partnership. But it would be disingenuous to say that this is the start because it's not. We've been working closely with economic development for, gosh, how long has it been? It's been quite a while, hasn't it, Michelle? And 2.5 years it's been. And she and her team has been so incredibly patient with us as we work through multiple feasibility analyses to make sure that we found just the right spot. And that's why it's so important to us. We're getting ready to put a lot of money in the ground. And that's a very important thing for us to do. We need to be thoughtful about the way we do it. And so part of the reason why I'm here as a developer is unique, because there's not a lot of healthcare systems that have in-house development. And the reason why we have in-house development is because we have a very strong ethos of well-being internal to Bon Secours Mercy Health. And we like to speak that ethos of well-being. You can hear it in the way that Dave speaks when he talks about our organization. You can hear that it's important to us about caring for our communities. And we like to match that ethos with our design language. And there's no way to match that type of ethos with your design language without controlling it. And so we made a conscious effort a couple of years ago to bring development in-house. We do it all in-house. I have a staff here internal to Bon Secours Mercy Health, and we build everything ground up in-house because that's the way that we ensure that we get that well-being ethos baked into every little nuance of this development. So let's talk a little bit about the project. It's anticipated to be a 156,900 square foot hospital. It is anticipated to be 4 stories tall with an attached 15,000 square foot medical office building. The services that will be include emergency medicine, general medicine, and orthopedic surgery. There will be 60 beds in the 4-story building. And numerous surgical suites on the second floor of the project. And then the medical office building will include specializations such as imaging, gynecology, et cetera. And so those specialty services will be attached with an atrium in the middle that will, and it's difficult without design, and I know it's difficult because this isn't a planning meeting, but if you could bear with me a little bit, if you picture, this is located in the southeast quadrant of Kings Mills and Kings Island Drive, a 33.5 acre site that is vacant. Most people know it as the old College Hall of Fame site. That's the site that this will be built on. We originally anticipated having it as a mixed use site and having some retail and service-based uses along Kings Mills. But what we realized as we approached it, and we ended up bringing our design team in and bouncing concepts off of them, what we learned was it felt cramped, it felt squeezed, and we actually had the building compressed up against Columbia Road, and it really wasn't working quite right. And we just thought, you know what we need to do is we need to make this a medical only campus. We need to make it a healthcare focused campus. That's what we're here for. That's what's going to protect our branding, and that's what's right for what we want to put here. The other thing it does is that it gives us future lots. So we do have a couple of lots. We have reserved them in the rear of the site rather than the front of the site, which is atypical. I'm mentioning some atypical things because it's not what you normally hear from a developer. We're not preserving the front outlots at Kings Mills to put a McDonald's. We're preserving the front of that lot because we're preserving the visibility and the view, the grandiose view from that intersection. And the way in which we did that is, or anticipate doing that, is we take the entire massive building, right? Not massive, mass of building, the scale of the building, and we rotate it so it is pointed at the intersection. So it has presence, but it's centered on the building, so it's not right up against the roadway. It doesn't have this encumbering feel on the roadway. It's centered to the project, so it doesn't feel compressed, but it has a nice visual landscape without having outlots that block it and clutter it up. On top of that, we'll have pedestrian pathways, et cetera, throughout the project. I want to reiterate that the outlots or the land that we're reserving at the rear is intended for healthcare use. It's there because we view this as a multi-decade or century project. This is our stake in northern Cincinnati, and we need that land for future use. We don't know where this is going to bring us, but we know one thing: this will be a great success. And when it is, we need that land to make sure we have the ability to adapt to the market for future. So with that, I'm going to turn that back. Thank you so much for your time, and I think to Michelle, Jim, thank you so much.
Maybe I'll pause and ask council if they have any questions, and then I can move on to the incentive recommendation.
I have a question. Could you translate Bon Secours for us so that the public understands the meaning of the name of your parent company? We're very familiar with Mercy. That's a, part of our Cincinnati community, but Bon Secours, could we say it in the microphone or have, I admit to Googling it. I didn't remember from my high school French, but it's special and I thought it would be worthwhile to share that.
Going to test me, but Bon Secours means good health. And so, and truly, we took some time in the merger. Wasn't only over the merger of people and assets and departments and services, but it really was a merger of cultures. And so a lot of time was taken with our clergy, with our leadership, to develop a mission statement that took in both organizations, and I believe is a very strong mission statement and talks about health. It also talks about our mission to serve those that are poor and underserved, and that will continue. And I didn't mention that, but obviously as we go forth with this, it's always to come into an area and look at what type of community benefits can we partner with to provide improved health status, not only to our network, but to the community.
Thank you for allowing me to put you on the spot, because those concepts are part of the spirit of the translation. There are some other synonyms that go with it, like place of healing, safety, and those types of things in service. So we appreciate you sharing that with us. Do any other council members have any questions or comments for our representatives from Mercy? Yes,
Mayor,
Councilmember Hunter Law.
I was just going to say we're ecstatic that you guys are coming to Mason, and it's been following this, and everything we've heard has just been exciting. And the way you've laid out the presence, that's the way that's going to be on that corner. I love that. That's great. And mentioning the maybe be able to work with some of our other local biohealth companies here, that's really important to us. So we love that. Thank you. Welcome.
First of all, Dave, I want to see you duplicate that $100 million investment and turn it into $1.4 billion. So I think we should at least start there, right? We've got a great economic development director to help us with that. But yeah, Dan, you talked about the ethos and the spirit and the characteristic of our culture. And we have a tech elevator, right? To where we bring in startups and help offset some of the rent and bring them in and allow them and help them nurture and into Class A office space. And some of those companies in there are geared around this biohealth. And I've said this, I'm a small business owner myself, and I would love to be able to see those conversations amongst Mason-based businesses with you guys. One of them that comes to my mind is geneticists. Don't get me started on like the science behind it, but it is a really, really cool technology that I know they have garnered national and international attention. And I would just encourage us to have those conversations because, to your point, Dan, the ethos of our culture is well-being and is good health. And what we, and I know that's been a major focus in our economic development. And so welcome. I can't wait to see this. That was the old College Football Hall of Fame. I used to go watch a lot of football games there, but my brother actually had his wedding reception there, which was really cool. So, but welcome. We can't wait to see this thing come to fruition.
Yes,
Mayor, I
Vice Mayor.
would echo that, Dave and team. We would just ecstatic that you're coming to Mason. It's a great opportunity to further develop the health community that Mason has spurred in its economic development programs, and we certainly look forward to your investment, your involvement, your growth in our community, and I'm hopeful, like Councilmember Chance said, that you can grow this into $1 billion investment. Thanks for coming.
And in addition to wellness and well-being when it comes to our physical health, the economic boost that it will give to the surrounding businesses. We have an ecosystem here where larger businesses really do a lot to help support our smaller businesses. By bringing in people to our community that will use your services, they're likely to use those retail and hospitality services in the surrounding areas. This is a wonderful time for this. Tourism is the #1 industry in Warren County, and it really took a hit this year. So I would imagine that the surrounding businesses will be thrilled that you're coming, and that will really give them a boost. And it'll be the type of traffic that will come in that's not dependent on seasonal activity, but a year-round activity, year-round jobs. And just a reminder, $156 million capital investment, 220 new jobs to begin, with a goal of projecting 275 new jobs within a few years, and other biohealth investments for the future. A 4-story, 156,000 square foot building with 60 hospital beds, and a 15,000 square foot office building on that property, and that's just the beginning. So this is very exciting for the ecosystem in that surrounding area, as well as for our community and our culture. So we're very, very pleased. And I know that our economic development director has more to share with us about this ordinance that is in front of us, and we are very proud of you. I'm not sure that any of us are worthy to carry your coffee cup, Michelle Blair, but we are very honored to work with you and proud of you. And thank you for working with them for 2.5 years, and the perseverance it took for you all to find your true potential. So it's an attribute to you as a hard worker and a public servant, and to all of you. So we're very grateful.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And we like to say, I think we all like to say that everybody in the city of Mason does economic development. You know, it is a pretty special place, and Kurt and his team, I mean, it is definitely a community effort. So thank you. Thank you for the compliments. We could not do it alone. And just a quick note about economics, and you know, to partner with what the mayor said, when you add one job in a hospital in a suburban network, for every one job, another 2.45 jobs are created. That multiplier effect, it's significant. Additionally, the goods and services purchased by a hospital type development also, I don't have a figure. I meant to ask Dan before this, but it's in the millions. The impact, if the economic impact of a development like this will be significant initially and significant over time. So that is exciting for the community. Also, just a quick note, and I know I need to be conscious of time, but because we're talking about startups and what Councilmember Chance was saying, just in case you did not know, we do have a genomics lab in the lower level of this building, CAP accredited, CALIA, and we also, as part of Myriad Neuroscience, and also we have a research laboratory for geneticists looking at next gen detection of heart ischemia. So it is, you know, you can see that we've kind of gotten used to, as a public entity, to these public-private partnerships that really have benefited the economics of the city, but also the community. So it is a pretty neat environment. We are an Economic Development Committee and City Council are recommending a $600,000 Port Authority performance loan to assist with the magnitude of infrastructure investment that will be necessary for this 33-acre site. There is a lot of on-site infrastructure, including the building, and there is significant amount of surrounding off-site infrastructure, which we would like to continue to work with the team and the surrounding jurisdictions on, you know, possible creative solutions to help make this the most efficient and competitive pro forma that you can. But that incentive will have a return on investment within 3 to 5 years based on the payroll alone that you discussed. So with that, I think I'll pause for a minute.
Council, I need a motion to add ordinance 2021-1 to the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Ms. Lisa, could you call the roll, please?
Member Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson.
Yes.
Okay. Now we need a motion to read that ordinance by title only.
So moved.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 2021-1, authorizing the city manager to enter into an economic participation agreement with Bon Secours Mercy Health and appropriating funds for a Port Authority incentive loan for economic development purposes.
We need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? We need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Any council discussion? Seeing there's none, let's call the roll.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn.
Yes.
Council, if you will join me with our guests for a photo to commemorate this accomplishment for the city of Mason. We ready? Item 7 on the agenda is ordinance 2021-2. I need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to execute an addendum to the contract with PCC Aerostructures Integration Center LLC and SPS Technologies LLC.
Eric?
Thank you, Mayor. This is last year's cool news extended. It's a little bit of a footnote now, but almost, just over a year ago, the city announced nearly simultaneously 3 projects to the north off of 741 and 42 for Rheinstahl, PCC, and SPS. This represented over 170 million in new investment and really took forward the research and development park that the city was putting in place. Following that announcement, there's obviously the disruption caused by COVID-19, and all of these transactions involve city-owned property that was then made available to those companies contingent on their expansion timeframe. The positive news here, I think extremely positive news, is all 3 of them. One of them is moving forward now, construction. The other 2 are in recovery from some of the effects and disruptions to their supply chains from COVID-19. The projects remain on track, but they do need additional time to meet some of the criteria that the city put in place related to our turnover of the property to them. What both ordinance 2021-2 and 2021-3 is authorized addendums to inject additional time to allow them to catch up on those and keep those projects moving forward. Both are recommended for adoption.
Thank you. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading, please.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second?
Any council discussion? Let's call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula.
Yes.
Item 8, ordinance 2021-3. And we need a motion to read that by title only.
So moved?
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to execute an addendum to the contract with Mored One LLC and Rheinstahl Corporation.
Motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading, please.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Yes. Any opposed? We need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second. Any council discussion on this one? Let's call the roll, please.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb.
Yes.
Item 9 on the agenda is ordinance 2021-4. We need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Jeff?
Approval of the replat for Kings Mills Plaza, Section 1E, Lots 4A and 4B.
Kurt?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. This replat is for 2 lots that are existing on the south side of Kings Mills Road. This center drive is what's across from the entrance to Kroger where the traffic signal is. Kings Mills Retail Center is located here and the Dunkin' Donuts here. There's 2 lots located there. This replat simply moves the joint property line 10 feet to make Lot 4B just a little bit bigger. It's replatted as Lot 4D, and Lot 4A will be just slightly smaller, replatted as Lot 4C. This was recommended for approval at Planning Commission last Tuesday at the January 5th meeting. And so with that, ordinance 2021-4 is recommended for adoption.
Could we have a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? We need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Any council discussion? Let's call the roll.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw.
Yes.
Item 10 is ordinance 2021-5, first reading. We need a motion to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Jeff?
Amending various sections of the codified ordinances of the city of Mason, Ohio regarding notice requirements.
Thank you. Eric Hansen is going to set a public hearing date for the second reading, at the time of the second reading, a public hearing.
We ask for the public hearing to be held February 8th, 2021. Second reading for ordinance 2021-5.
February 8th, 2021. All right, thank you. Item 11, we need a motion, resolution 2021-1. Need a motion to read that by title only.
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? Jeff?
Requesting the county auditor to make tax advances during the year 2021 pursuant to section 321.34 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Jennifer?
Mayor, members of council, this is basically a housekeeping item. Annually, the first council meeting in January, we ask council to pass legislation that, in essence, the county auditor collects property taxes and remits them to us twice a year. State law allows our finance director, Joe Riegelsberger, to request legislation that he could ask for an advancement of those property taxes so choose. So resolution 2021-1 does exactly that. Thank you.
All right, we need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? We need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Any council discussion? Let's call the roll.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman.
Yes. Item 12 is resolution 2021-2. We need a motion to read that by title only.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Jeff?
Encouraging Joe Burrow a speedy recovery and return to the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yes. We need a motion to suspend that rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? We need a motion to adopt.
Second.
Now, at this time of council discussion, I was hoping that our team here could help us give you some of the highlights of that resolution. I'm certain it will pass, and if we have any Steelers fans on this dais, I think you need to disclose that right now so that the public knows. But in the spirit of the great news about Ohio State going to the final playoffs tonight at 8 o'clock, we thought it would be fun to bring a bit of levity to council. And I'll start and tell you one of my favorite highlights, which happens to be the first highlight, or in the first stanza, which is in the first whereas, did you know that Joe Burrow's grandmother is really the one that started all of this out? She got a Mississippi high school record for shooting an 82-point game in basketball. Did anybody else learn anything from reading this resolution, which I believe was crafted by Chief Farrell and Kurt Seiler and some others on our staff? Yes.
I would like to read that I was interested to find out that he rated a 4-star football recruit committed to The Ohio State University to play football on May 27th, 2014. Some may say it was the wisest decision of his career.
Yes. Anybody else? Come on, only the girls are doing it. Any of you guys have any factoids?
I'm more interested in getting home and watching the Ohio State game.
Oh, let's
I view
read the
him
whole
as kind of a
thing.
traitor right now.
Let's read the whole thing. No, we really want him to get better. And we have in section, let's see, it's down at the bottom, section 6, that while 1990 was the last time the Bengals won a playoff game, Mason is confident Joe Burrow will lead the Bengals to the playoffs, and at which time Mason pledges to declare Joe Burrow Day in Mason. So if I'm not here then, I hope that you guys will make sure that legacy is followed through on. All right, well, is there any more council discussion? All right, seeing there is none, let's call the roll, please.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance.
Yes.
All right, item 13 is the city manager's report.
Updates. Sorry, I have a couple of updates, Mayor. The city does pick up Christmas trees for recycling. That began this past Monday and will continue throughout the month. They simply need to be placed at curbside for pickup. Trees that are placed in bags, however, those will be removed by Rumpke. The Area Progress Council is holding their business after hours meeting on Wednesday, January 27th from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. The Mason Deerfield Chamber is hosting their rescheduled Beacons of Resilience Awards. That is on Thursday, January 28th at 6 p.m. at the Manor House. City offices will be closed Monday, February 15th in observance of President's Day. That's all I had, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, to kick us off in old and new business, I believe Vice Mayor Gilb has something to present to us.
I did want to come back to council and report in regard to the CIC met in regard to continuing the funding that we had authorized for the small business recovery programs. There was, as you recall, there was $163,000 remaining out of the original $700,000 that had been authorized by us to be spent for small business economic development in Mason, small business recovery programs. I'm pleased to tell you that there was renewed interest in the program, a number of new applicants that applied. The CIC met last week and was able to certainly authorize a process where all of that $163,000 that we previously authorized would be distributed. And to the extent that we could fully fund all the need that was out there, it would take in about an additional $60,000 for us to input into that program. So if council was willing tonight, I'm prepared to make a motion that would authorize the city to provide up to an additional $60,000 Mason Community Improvement Corporation in order to round out the business assistance programs previously authorized by ordinance 2020-52 and to fund critical impact supplemental grants as determined to be appropriate by the CIC, to direct the law director to prepare the necessary legislation to formally authorize the additional funds, and to amend the existing service agreement with the CIC as may be necessary. So I'll make that motion. And
I'll second.
All right. Do we need to do anything further than a motion and a second? All in favor?
All in favor is sufficient for now.
Okay, all in
But
favor?
part of that motion is that there will be legislation for council in the future.
Okay, thanks. All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Any opposed? Great. That's great news. Thank you. Anything else, Vice Mayor? Nothing further. Anyone else with
Mayor.
new business? Yes, Councilmember Nelson.
I just wanted to give a little bit of what's going on at the state level. Governor DeWine determined that law enforcement officers will not be on the list of those who will receive the COVID-19 vaccine during the first phase of the rollout, even after pleas from the Ohio Municipal League and the Mayor's Association of Ohio. I encourage all of you to voice your concerns to the governor, urging him to ensure that Ohio's law enforcement are one of the first to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. It is imperative that our safety personnel are adequately equipped to serve, protect our residents in our local communities. And on many occasions, I have encouraged our residents to write to their legislator on different topics. And it occurred to me today that some of you may not have the proper email address to write these individuals. So at any time you have any questions about anything, or you are wondering what the email address is, please feel free to always email me at diananelsonCPA@gmail.com, and I can give you whatever information you need. And if you write your legislator, also feel free to copy me on it, because I'm really curious to see how many people are actually reaching out and doing this. Senate Bill 175 was just signed by Governor DeWine, which was sponsored by Senator Schaefer, and was amended to include the duty to retreat language, expanding locations at which a person has no duty to retreat before using lethal force when they believe their life is in danger, if they are legally allowed to be in that location and they are not the aggressor. Another bill impacting municipalities was one that was passed by the 133rd General Assembly and sent over to the governor's desk, but has yet to be signed, and it is Senate Bill 10, which was sponsored by our very own Senator Steve Wilson, who I think very highly of. He has done a lot for our city, and it increases the penalties for theft in office. During the 133rd General Assembly, Governor DeWine also has signed several pieces of legislation that will positively impact Ohio cities. As I have said before, Governor DeWine is a huge supporter of municipalities and has vested a lot into our local communities. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else with old or new business?
Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to read a statement, if that's possible.
Yes, sure.
And Kurt, when I get done with this, I'll let you put up my graphics for me. Thank you. So I'm gonna just read a brief statement here. I attended the rally in Washington, D.C. on January 6, 2021 to support President Trump and to protest the election fraud and the fact that the number of states violated the U.S. Constitution in their conduct of the November presidential election. I exercised my right to peacefully march and to assemble with hundreds of thousands of other individuals from across the country. This rally was about restoring election integrity and ensuring that illegal votes not be counted and that every legal vote be counted. It was a peaceful march protected by the First Amendment. I was not aware of, participated in, or observed any illegal activity. I oppose rioting, looting, breaking into buildings, vandalism, trespassing, or any other illegal activity like what has occurred since last spring in various cities, including Washington, D.C., and I have publicly condemned those who have committed those acts. I came to our nation's capital as a private citizen who cares about our country. While I am a city council member, I was not on city business or representing our city at this march. I believe we are a nation ruled by laws which we must all respect. We can seek to change the law peacefully through the procedures established by law. We can and should petition our elected representatives to correct grievances or to advocate for what we believe is right. This should always be done peacefully, respectfully, in accordance with the law. This is what I did and all that I witnessed others do as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I think he wanted to show some graphics.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, right. I don't have a pointer. So this is the Washington DC area there, and at the very bottom of the screen, you have the Lincoln Memorial. You see the National Mall, the monument is the blue dot there in the lower center. The White House is to the left. In between those two, a little bit farther down to the left, right there is the White House. And then the circle in between those two is called the ellipse. That's where the stage was set up where President Trump spoke. And that's where the majority of the people were, between there all the way up to around the monument. And I don't know how far back from there. I arrived there at 7 a.m. and that's where I stayed until about 1:30 p.m. until the president finished his speech. And when he finished it, that's when we made our way down towards the Capitol. It is 1.9 miles from the Lincoln Memorial all the way to the U.S. Capitol across there. So from the monument, it's about 1.2 miles. And we made that walk. I walked straight down the middle of the mall with tons of people. And it was a very casual walk. I think I even videoed it and posted how it went numerous times, how it was when we walked down there. If you go to the next slide. Okay, now as you come across the Capitol, at the bottom there, where it says Ulysses Grant Memorial, before that is the reflection pond. I made it to almost where that green dot where it says Union Square. Those are kind of like steps right there. That's as close as I got to the Capitol. Now, I've only been to the DC once before, and so from the pictures I was taking, it looked like I was right on the steps. I didn't realize you had that whole gray area until I pulled this up, the green area in between that. So and I'll show you the next slide. It looks like right there at the steps go straight up, but that wasn't the case. So I'm hundreds of yards away. That's the closest I ever got to the Capitol, was right there on those steps. Then you go to the next slide. This is the picture that I took. This is where I'm standing on the steps looking across the reflection pond. And as you look there, you can kind of see it looks from this view for me that it goes straight up and the Capitol's right behind it. I had no idea there was that much ground back behind there. And if you go to the next slide, I actually did this is a video that I ran just standing there. And you can kind of see the people. You can see everybody's just chilled. We're all just hanging out. You don't see that there was anybody that was excited or worked up in any way. We were all just hanging out. And like I said, this is, when I took this now, there was probably stuff going on in the Capitol right then. You see how nobody has a clue what's going on inside the Capitol. I'm thinking this is after 2 o'clock when I ran this video. And so there was just no way to know there was something happening inside there, that anybody broke in, and you're trying to see, what was there. And there's just some, all I could do was testify what my experience was. Most of the day was all at the other end of the mall. And when we walked down here, this is where I was at. So I just wanted to make sure everybody had an idea of what my experience was at that event, why I was there, and the distance I was from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other old and new business? All right. Next item, if council is amenable, we can keep going or we can take a quick 5-minute break. All right, let's take a 5-minute break. We'll be right back and we will attend to item 15, which is recognition of visitors. We'll see you in 5 minutes.
I think I'm okay.
Yep, I'm gonna have Kurt probably do it because he's right next to it. Yep. Which one,
Whichever one works. So one's an MOB, one's an MPG, and one's an MP4.
I think that they will all work.
And I need sound on it, obviously, as well.
Yeah, we'll get that set up.
How long do we have to speak?
Right now, you have all the time in the world. If they make a motion to limit that time, then that'll be announced here shortly.
Gotcha. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, is Denny ready up there? Let's see if I can see. Denny. Denny? He can't hear us. There he is. Hey, all right, he gives us the thumbs up. I did the wrong signal during a scuba, well, it was a snorkeling experience gone wrong once, and I didn't do the right thumbs up when I was actually okay, and one thing led to another, but I digress. So I got the thumbs up from our dear Denny up there, who is long suffering with us during these meetings. Before we get started with recognition of visitors, our law director has a statement he needs to make real quick, and we'll continue.
Thank you, Mayor. I have been asked on behalf of council to remind folks that pursuant to the state requirement, but primarily out of respect to the others here, to please wear a mask while in council chambers.
Right. Okay, since social distancing is not quite possible for everyone here, it's a little crowded. We have a robust crowd tonight, which is great. All right, council, we do have quite a crowd, and I understand we have 4 people in the online queue. 5 people. Okay.
But want to remind them that for those online, if you wish to address council this evening, you need to hit your little icon for raised hand so that we know and we can call on you.
All right, so it's up to the body of council to establish any ground rules for our meetings in general. And so I'm asking council at this time, do you want to establish any time limits or boundaries for our visitors, since we have quite a crowd today?
Yeah, Mayor, I would, in light of the hour, move that we limit visitors to a 3-minute time period. And if we need more time, we can go beyond 3 minutes. I don't know.
You to push your mic
I'll make a
closer to
motion.
you.
I'll make a motion. I'd be a limit of 3 minutes per person. And if council wants to extend that for someone or go back to that, certainly we can. But initially, I would say a 3-minute time limit per person.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? Could you hear? It's hard to hear you, Mike. You need to pull your microphone closer.
Would make a motion to limit time period to 3 minutes per visitor. And I'll just make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it. I'd actually like to see it at 2 minutes, given the crowd. I think there's an overflow over there as well. And, my wish is that, this doesn't get repetitive. I know there's going to be a lot of opinions. And if you're going to say the same thing as the last person, let's just, and like I said, 2 minutes or 3 minutes, I think it's,
To change it to 2, you'd have to make an official amendment to that motion.
3 minutes, I'm fine with. It's just.
All right. Okay, great. So we have a second, and we now need to call the roll. Oh, any council discussion? Sure.
Mayor.
Yes.
I've always opposed, and I still oppose. I never believe in setting time limits on when our residents want to come up and speak. They're the voice where we speak for them. So we always have to know what they think and what they want to say. So I am always against any kind of time limits on allowing our residents to speak.
Anyone else? Council discussion? Yes.
I think this is why we're here. I don't think we've ever limited discussion below 5 minutes. I would ask that everybody be concise and avoid repetition, but this is why we're here. We're here to work for you, and so we need to hear from you. Thanks.
Anyone else? All right, let's call the roll, please.
Councilmember Bradburn,
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula,
No.
Vice Mayor Gilb,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunterlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Chance,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson.
No. All right, the motion passes. So visitors, we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. And if council can remember a few guidelines, if you have a comment to make, I'll provide some follow-up time. But if you need to speak, please address the chair and wait to be acknowledged by the chair. We shouldn't have dialogue between members. And we need to make sure we follow the rule. And just a reminder, we cannot make improper motions to adjourn when, we get tired or we're not interested in hearing someone speak. So you have to have the floor to make a motion to adjourn, but we should follow the agenda and get through this item on the agenda before that occurs. All right. To me, it seems the most polite to have our visitors that are waiting in person. And so I'd like to start with visitors here in the audience that would like to address council, if there are any. And so what you do is you come to the podium and you state your name and address for the record, and you tell us what's on your mind, and we'll try to keep track of the time so we make it fair for all. Is there anyone here in the building that would like to speak? Yes, come on up.
Hi, I'm Karen Weckstein, 4239 Serpentine Way. And I just wanted to say real quick, I've said this before, but I just wanted to state that it's inappropriate, insensitive, and unwelcoming to have any type of prayer before a city council meeting or any meeting. Mason is very diverse, and not all citizens believe in Jesus or God. If you as an individual feel the need to pray in order to have a successful meeting, it should be done prior to the meeting in private. There should be separation of church and state, after all. This is the third time I've come to council and made this statement. It concerns me that You don't consider my comment, and it concerns me that you even feel the need to pray in order to have a good meeting. It makes me wonder, what has council done that requires God's intervention? Thank you.
That was a good one. Well played there. Nicely done. I love good humor. Thank you. And I know that your request is serious though, but I thought the ending was very, very fun. Okay, anybody else here in the building? Yes? Oh, at the end? Oh, okay. It wasn't meant to be funny. I'm very sorry, Mrs. Wegstein. She just wanted to make that clear. I know that she can't be heard because she's off mic. I'm sorry. All right. Next visitor, please. Yes, sir. Come on up.
My name is Caleb Ankney. Thank you for your time tonight.
What was your name, sir?
Caleb Ankney.
Caleb Ankning.
Yes,
and what's your address, please?
I'm actually I work in Mason, but I'm a resident in Lebanon, all right on the border of Mason.
Okay, great. Just tell us your address, and that's all we need to know.
3800 South 741.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Mine's quick. I just remind people that I appreciate you guys for all your hard work. I appreciate what you do for us. I also want to remind everyone here that this nation, the reason we start with a prayer is this nation was formed on one nation under God. And I appreciate you that you guys do that. And thank you.
Okay. And I know this is hard to say, but we shouldn't have applause from the audience. Anyway, it's just part of the rules, but I do agree with the sentiment, and thank you for bringing that up. Okay, do we have any other visitors here in the audience, in the building? Anybody in the overflow room need to come in and tell us what's on your mind? You can transition over here. I see a hand in the audience. If you could come up, ma'am, and approach the podium, give us your name and address, please. There's a little screw by your left hand. Yeah, you have to loosen that. Thanks.
My name is Karen Kopak, and I live at 3829 Crooked Tree Drive, Mason, Ohio. I'm going to stick to as much of my script as possible because I really don't want to puke while I'm up here because it makes me very nervous. I truly didn't think I was going to be speaking at another meeting in person again so soon after I gave public comments regarding a recall report. To be honest, I'm very concerned of COVID. I came here because I'm angry, sad, and confused all at the same time. So much so, I didn't even know what to say here because I'm not a public speaker. However, I had to come to share my feelings regarding the incidents that occurred in DC and regarding Councilman Honorlaw's attendance at what was being referred to as the Save America rally in Washington, DC. Personally, I believe since you contacted the press sharing your intentions to attend the Save America rally and identified yourself as a Mason City councilman in this article, I believe it is fair to say that you wanted us to know who you were. This was in the article written by Scott Wortman of the Cincinnati Enquirer, and by using the title of Mason City Councilman, for me, is enough to warrant my scrutiny. As a City of Mason constituent, Mr. Honorlaw, you even said in this article, he has seen large crowds of people show up in Mason City Council meetings make a difference in how council acts. So here I am. Again, I will state, you contacted the press and identified yourself as a Mason City Council member, which I think makes it Mason's business and the constituents of Mason. Personally, I'm confused by the timeline in your accounts of that day. And I could try to go into the detail about that, but that's not really my concern at this time. What matters to me is that you contacted the press, use your title to let us know you were going. I suspect I might, and I suspect I will, be met with pushback for this opinion. But I'm really not worried about pushback. I get pushback all the time. I've been a Democrat living in Ohio my whole life. I'm used to pushback. I've probably heard every whataboutism there is, like, but Antifa, but Obama, but the riots, but Black Lives Matter. In my opinion, and what I have learned about whataboutisms, is that they are often used to deflect blame onto others, and they can often be used as a tool in the art of reinforcing systemic racism. Anyway, that's my opinion. By now, like many others, know that this was not like a Mason Heritage Parade, as I believed it was referred to at some point. Again, I was not there. That's my opinion. I have participated and attended many Heritage Day parades as the mother of as a band mom of 2 band kids for 7 years, as mother of an Eagle Scout who participated in a troop here in our city, and also a young sportsy kid who has marched in these parades with football and other sports. I don't ever recall seeing Confederate flags or upside down flags or Nazi shirts or a noose at the Mason Heritage Day.
Mrs. Kopak, I'm very sorry, but your 3 minutes is up, as council had indicated.
Well, I really have just a little bit more, and I really want to get through this. It's really important to me. I'll have somebody else read it if I have to, but I really would like to do it myself. In my opinion, this was a planned and organized rally to disrupt what is normally a procedural matter of certifying an election. And as more information is being revealed, I think I can logically refer to it as an organized insurrection. Anyway, how does this all apply to Mason? And I'll be honest and direct, and that I believe that the rally represented a lot of hate and systemic racism to its core. And I, for one, do not want anyone who participated in the so-called rally, whether they went there or whatever, representing my city. Mr. Allen, I know you said that you were representing yourself and why, but I don't understand why contact the press. If you were only representing yourself as an individual, when you add that you are a Mason City Council member, it reflects on us as a city. Personally, I think it's very bad for our city for many reasons. In conclusion, I cannot speak for all 40-something% of a voting constituency here in Mason, but I'm sure there are many that I will continue to demand better for my representations. I think, personally, my opinion, I would ask that you resign for it. Or at the very least, for council to do something, do better, be better. Thank you for your time. And to my friends who support me, I really appreciate them, and I really appreciate you keeping me honest.
Mayor.
Yes.
Hey, okay, so since you've decided to respond to me, I get a couple more minutes, right?
Mrs. Kopak, he's responding to your comments. If you could just please.
Well, my comments were made after following, he made a statement.
No.
I'm sticking to what I had said. My point is it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to me as a constituent. I just know that this in and of itself has hurt many people I know, and not just me.
Okay,
and
we gave
you have the right
extra.
to go, and I have the right. It's my time. I'm a constituent. I'm not a council member.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not
Mrs. Kopak, please.
Not that this was never my intention to do that. I'm telling you that you have your opinion and you have your right, and I have my opinion and I have my right too.
Thank you.
Make it go both ways.
All right, let me just finish my statement. I just wanted to answer the questions, that's all. And I'm happy to answer if you ask. What we're trying not to do is get a back and forth just because there's so many people here. So I was contacted by Scott Wortman on the Cincinnati Enquirer on the drive Tuesday, the day before, on the drive to DC. He contacted me and said, would I be interested in giving an interview there? And so that's when I did that. Now that I'm in the paper, I'm in the paper the next day on Wednesday, that's evidently then why the other TV stations contacted me. I have no way to contact anybody. I didn't have anybody's numbers. They contacted me. Secondly, about using my title, I did not use my title. They then said, what's your title? And I said, I'm a small business owner. And they said, and So then I said, well, I'm also on Mason City Council and I'm on, but they knew I was already had that title. That's probably why they were contacting me, but I didn't offer that up. They asked me, and I don't know how I could have not answered that. So that answers those two questions. And if you can see, it was just an inaccurate assumption is all. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other visitors here that would like to address council? Yes, sir. Please state your name and your address.
Paul Martins, 1662 Kings Court. I'm here to condemn Council Honorlaw for his blatant support of sedition in attending and supporting the January 6, 2021 Washington, D.C. rally turned riot upon our nation's capital. In my opinion, you betrayed the trust vested in you as an elected member of Mason. Your actions were designed to support a president in an argument that you know was false. That is, that the election was stolen somehow. You knew that there was no evidence of widespread voter fraud. You knew that over 60 cases in federal and state courts rejected any claims of widespread voter fraud. And you knew that every state legislature certified the 306 Electoral College votes for President-elect Biden. Your actions encouraged and fostered the riot that ended in bloodshed and desecrated the Capitol of the United States. In my opinion, you are unfit for office and you should resign or be impeached.
Do we have any other members of the audience that would like to address council? Sir, come on up. And remember, please refrain from clapping.
Jeffrey Battles, 280 West Pekin. And I just want to say, I notice out of everyone that's condemning what he's done, you're the only one with an American flag on your lapel there. And, you know, earlier this year, I was in the Middle East and I got back and we actually spent a lot of time working with slave children, children that have no rights, 5 years old, working in slavery. And the way that they're treated, the way that they're forced to do certain things. And you know, what really fears me is when I come back to the United States, it's sad when you get there, but what's even worse is when you come back and you see the way people try to take rights away from other people for doing what they believe is right. And the way that I see this is you exercise. Is there any laws against being a councilman and exercising your First Amendment right? I don't believe so. I don't believe so. You are not involved in those things. So I just want to say thank you for standing up for what you believe is right, despite the kickback that you're going to get. And I do believe that more Americans need to exercise the right, despite what their opinions are. We can do it without being vile. We can do it without, crossing different boundaries, because I believe that, and also I will stay under my time as well, as I'm not going to go over and disrespect the rules here that were created. But knowing what we've been seeing, I believe that you exercising as a patriot, I believe that you meant no harm, correct? You meant no harm. You meant to be there and just to, it's what you believe to be right. And we can't base what we think that you thought. We can't say how you knew what was right. There's no way to assume what was going on in your mind as to what you know to be true. So I want to thank you for exercising your right as we have our right here to do. And I also want to thank you all for having prayer, because once we take God out of the situation, this is what we get. We get dictatorship, we get tyranny. So I just wanted to say thank you for standing up for your country and be willing to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Battles. Is there anyone else in the audience? Yes, sir. I saw your hand first, so come on up, and then madam in the back, we'll get you next. Thank you.
Mayor, can we allow our residents, I think there's some people here that are not residents of Mason. Could we make sure that our residents of Mason get to speak first? Just out of courtesy of our residents.
Sure, that's fine. I don't know who's who when they give their address, but if you all in the audience can remember that, please.
Just to clarify, this has nothing to do with me personally believing in God or not believing in God. So I think that people maybe miss the point The point is that this is a city council meeting. It's not church. This is not a place where we should be invoking God. And the point is that Mason and the world really is a diverse place. Not everyone believes in the same God, okay? Not everyone believes in God at all. And we want to make sure everyone feels welcome and not intimidated to speak. Now, I'm a very confident, outspoken person. I'm not intimidated by anything or anyone. I'll come up here and speak. But I want the people who are afraid or feel like they have different opinions than those people who I appreciate as well. It's not that I don't appreciate these people. I appreciate you for leading. I want the people who are intimidated to speak to feel empowered, like they can come and share their opinions and not feel intimidated like they're not going to listen to me because I wear a head covering. They're not going to listen to me because I don't believe the same God that they believe in. God is great. This is not church. That's all I'm saying. Okay?
You really think prayer is intimidating?
Sorry?
Do you really think prayer is intimidating?
I don't. That's not what I'm saying. That's the whole point.
That's what you just said.
I said some people might be intimidated to come and speak out at council meetings.
I appreciate that. I'm not going to go into this, but we've had a rabbi, we've had Muslims.
I know you guys have been great about that. You really, really have.
Yeah, so
you've tried to think. I know
this isn't an intimidation factor. It's something that we believe in.
I know it's not intimidating. You are not trying to intimidate anybody. That is, I know that's not what you're trying to do. But you have to you think of it from there are people, okay, who don't believe in God or who they have a different religion. They look different. They're intimidated to share their opinions, okay? And this is not a church. That's all I'm saying. I just am saying, think about maybe why are we praying in this government, in this city public meeting space? It's not needed. It doesn't intimidate me, doesn't intimidate these people, but Mason's a big place and Mason is very diverse and it's not reflective of the community. That's all I'm saying. Just something to think about. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Weckstein.
Mayor.
And just a reminder to the audience, please wait to be called on before you come up. I thought I called this guy back here in the burgundy shirt, make your way to the podium, and I turned around and I was surprised. But anyway, thank you for being patient, sir. And Mr. Bradburn?
Yeah, Mayor, this did come up a couple meetings ago, and I did ask our law director in regards to the properness, being proper to have a prayer as a governmental body. And he shared some information from me in regards to something that had been affirmed by the Supreme Court. Could you share that with the public?
Sure. Yes, in 2014, the United States Supreme Court, in the case of Town of Greece versus Galloway, the Supreme Court held that the practice of having a prayer before a town meeting does not violate the Establishment Clause of the Constitution.
Thank you. Ma'am, please don't call out from the audience. Thank you. Okay, sir, you've been patient. Could you please state your name and your address?
Jordan Hardy, address is 6473 Timbers Court. I guess I can speak.
Yes,
I didn't really expect to speak, and I didn't really write like an actual speech, but just hearing some of the emotions in this room, I guess it's like the times we live in are kind of baffling to me a little bit. If you guys are familiar with the political scientist Hannah Arendt, she wrote this book a few decades ago called The Origins of Totalitarianism. And one of the things when I was reading it that stuck out to me is how before societies became totalitarian in the 20th century, one of the most common things was the emergence of this sort of post-truth era that was sort of like the harbingers of totalitarianism. That was a symptom of a democracy in decline. And it's just really shocking to me that in America today, we have the emergence of this sort of post-truth era, and things that would normally be objective facts in any other year, like who won the presidential election, is something of a political opinion. And it just concerns me that we have the precedent of someone contesting the results of a presidential election who went through the courts, found no evidence whatsoever of widespread voter fraud, and still insists they won the election. The precedent for me is extremely worrying, because what's going to happen in future elections when someone can just say, oh, I actually won? Like, let's subvert the process of democracy. I don't believe that Councilman Hunter Law really knew what was going on. I mean, he might have. I don't really believe it. I'm an activist. I'm the press secretary of the Ohio Green Party, general secretary of the Warren County Green Party. I'm obviously not neutral in my political opinions, but as an activist, I've been in protests myself that have almost turned violent, and I know I had nothing to do with that. So it's not that I'm saying you have responsibility for that. I'm just saying it's concerning that it's even a mainstream opinion to say that, oh, we don't have any actual evidence that's been presented, but the election was stolen. It's just concerning to me, that's all. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you for your very careful analysis. I really appreciate that. And I couldn't help but notice you're rather young, or at least younger than me. I'm pretty old, but I really appreciate you being so engaged in government, and that's just really neat. You made a great argument. All right, I don't agree with all of it, but you did a wonderful job articulating it, and I appreciate that. All right, do we have anybody else in the building? Oh, we had the man in the black jacket back there. And who would like to go next, just so we have an idea? Gentleman in the back, and then we'll take the lady in the front. How about that?
My name's Terry Piney, and I live at 5056 Village Green Drive. I really have nothing prepared to say. I'm just here in support of TJ. TJ's a Christian, he's a conservative, and he's a Republican patriot. And I admire him for being in Washington last Wednesday. I appreciate everything that he has done for the city of Masons. I appreciate him supporting our president, and he had every right to be there. It's really sad when I look at some of the people that are asking for him to step down. I really don't understand. Where's our freedoms anymore? This man went to Washington in support of our president. Whether you think that the election was legitimate or not, if this man wants to be in Washington, D.C. to support our president, he has every right to be there. TJ was not the person that was in the Capitol with the horns and acting a fool. TJ was out there supporting our president, and I admire you for that, sir. Thank you. I'm proud to say that you are a Mason City Council member. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman in the back, and then we have the lady in front.
Thank you, Council.
Please, no calling out from the audience. Sir, state your name and address, please.
Joe Kramer, 4192 South Shore. And yeah, thank you for just listening to me just for a minute. I thank our Lord that that in our nation we still have the First Amendment, the freedom to assemble, and also the freedom to practice our religion, that government does not intrude. I know that's the federal government, not the city government, but still, I'm still thankful we still have our First Amendment rights. And TJ Hunter Law, he did practice this First Amendment right to freedom of assembly in Washington, D.C. And so I commend you for doing that. Many of us wanted to go, and so TJ actually made the sacrifice cost-wise, time-wise to go there. So thank you. And I'm glad that you obeyed the laws. And there was a gentleman here that was said that you should be impeached or resigned because of what he thought you were thinking or your intentions. And I believe those intentions were misconstrued, but even if they were, those are intentions, not actions. And right now, still in this country, our intentions, or at least what we are thinking in our minds, is still not illegal. So, but it is actions. So thank you.
Thank you. The lady in the front row. And then I think I saw a hand in the black cardigan. You can come next. Thank you. And then how about one of the two gentlemen in the back? You guys can work it out. How about that?
So I didn't come with anything in particular that I wanted to say. Honestly, I was just kind of
Oh,
curious.
could you please state your name and address? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Heidi Latsko Hill, and I live at 6714 Park Lake Drive.
Heidi. Ivy?
Heidi.
Heidi, I'm sorry. Thank you, Heidi.
So I didn't come here planning to say anything necessarily, and I've been listening to everybody's speeches, and I have, nothing but respect for everybody who's got up to the podium and agree with a lot of what I've heard from pretty much everybody. And I want to say, before I say anything about how I feel about the topic, I have lived in non-democratic countries. I know from firsthand experience what it feels like to not have freedom. I completely appreciate that, and I completely appreciate people's passion around First Amendment and all of those areas. Secondly, I also wanted to mention to you guys that the main reason I came was I was just curious, because there is quite a bit of scuttlebutt in the community about the way that you guys comport yourselves. And I don't like to hear secondhand, thirdhand, fourth-hand information and just take that as gospel, which some people do. And so I wanted to see from my own firsthand experience how you guys comported yourselves with each other. And I want to say that I've been nothing but impressed of how you have interacted today. I don't know if it's representative of how you always are, but I think that you guys all seem to be very respectful to each other. So just wanted to mention that. And then I wanted to make a comment, Mr. Honor Law. I appreciate that you gave a statement about your time in Washington, and I listened to you. And you said something that you believe in the rule of law, and that's good to know. But then later you said in your statement that you knew that there were fraudulent votes, or there was illegal activities around the voting. And so as a person in a position of leadership in our community, this is what you're saying, that you believe, that you do not believe that it was a legal election. And even though that this has been reviewed through all the legal means, and every opportunity, every court legally has said that this is a legal election, you still say that there's fraudulent votes, which basically, as a leader, you're putting out there in the community that we shouldn't necessarily respect this new president that we're about to have, which I have a problem with, because we're raising families here and children. And so now you want us to say to those kids that that's not the real president, or that was just a sham of an election. And I don't think that's a right thing to say. And even last night on 60 Minutes, I watched it, and they had the Secretary of State for Georgia on there. And he said that your hero, Mr. Trump, called him. And this is not following the rule of law. He threatened him. He threatened his life if he didn't come up with 11,870 votes. That's not following the rule of law. And yet you're saying this person is your hero. And so I don't know how you can say on one hand, this person is a hero, and then on the other hand, this is the same person who is encouraging people to be violent and leading to people dying, and then saying that he loves them and that they're great. How can that person be a hero and that you be a leader? I mean, we moved to Mason because of the family values and because of the schools. And then, and this makes no sense. It's a total contradiction to what you say. So I just don't know how, as a mother, as parents, as people who believe in the values that they're teaching our children in these schools, and then we say that we believe in this community, that we can have heroes like that. I mean, I want my daughter to have heroes, but not heroes that encourage violence and encourage
Mrs.
destruction of the Capitol.
Mrs. Lasko, I'm sorry, but you're.
I didn't have anything particular I want to say. I just want to point out it's a complete contradiction to say you believe in the rule of law, to say you believe in family values, and then to have this, of all people, to be a hero. It doesn't make any sense.
Thank you for the compliment. We have had a good night tonight.
Hi, my name is Carrie Arnsmeyer. I live at 4420 Kingfisher Court.
Could we have your name one more time?
Carrie Arnsmeyer. I live at 4420 Kingfisher Court.
Thank you, Carrie.
You have First Amendment rights as a citizen. I'm all about that. I go places and tell my opinions. I'm doing that right now. When you become a representative, you represent a community. I don't know what your intentions are, and I'm not going to speculate. I have opinions, but it's fine. But you do represent our city. I don't know that they were calling small business owners and asking them if they were going to the rally or not. My guess is that they cared about you because you were a council member, but that's aside. I feel right now like our city representatives aren't going to let our community know that everybody is welcome here. And so as a citizen, I just wanted to say that I hope that Mason is a place that's welcoming. I can't in good faith sit next to my friend and not say something about how our city should be better than this. We should just be better. And so I don't know what your intentions were, but as council, I really hope that you go out of your way to make everybody feel welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gentleman in the back. And then how about man in the jacket, you'll go next. And then sir, with your hand up, you'll go after him. So 1, 2, 3. Thanks. Hi, name and address, please.
My name's Kevin Lawson. 7277 Southview Court, Springboro, Ohio. Council, I appreciate the time here. Honestly, I don't care about anybody's politics. I don't care who you vote for, as long as you vote. I think a lot of people are jumping to conclusions right now and hearsay. I'm basically here tonight to speak on behalf of a friend of mine, and that's TJ Hunterlaw. I'm also a graduate of Ohio State University. So if I'm here tonight right now, as late as it's getting, I'm a friend of his because I like to watch. And I appreciate your time. I've known TJ for almost 10 years, and I'm proud to say he's a friend of mine, and I'm here to support him tonight. Most of you sitting there know TJ's love and support for the city of Mason. I think you all realize sitting there that he would not do anything to harm the city of Mason. I also know his feelings towards his work. I know in your positions you face a lot of frustration, a lot of headaches, and sometimes it seems thankless. But we all, whether it's Springboro or Mason or Lebanon, appreciate what you do as a group. I know you don't do it for you do it for the development and progress of the city of Mason and for the corporations and communication and willingness to work with other people. So no one here has a vested interest on anything negative towards Mason. You don't work together for the pay, you don't work together for the notoriety, and certainly not for the long hours. I know sometimes it probably feels that way. And I know TJ feels the same way. He's a dedicated, hardworking individual. He's a team member of yours. He's dedicated, like you are, to the city and promotion of the city of Mason. You folks on the council know this to be true. As part of your council, he's part of your team. I consider myself a nice, helpful kind of guy that you might meet. I would like to help people. And then you've kind of run into people from time to time you find raise the bar. I could do better. I could be like them. Well, that's TJ, really is. He's the kind of guy that will help you out. He does, for the people that don't know him, he does not have a bad bone in his body. So I'm here on behalf of him. I think he's a great person and a good friend, and I'm here to support him. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson. Okay, gentleman in the back. You can take it off for that. You're social distancing. Yeah, it really helps us hear you.
Exactly. I'm also here in support of TJ.
Could you state your name and address,
Oh,
please?
sorry.
Thank you, sir.
My name is William Fry. 7286 Osceola Road, Blanchester. I've known TJ for 11 years. He's continually served his community, and the fact that he's here on this board is an example of that. We work together on a board for a charitable organization. And so, you know, those are the connections that I have with him through the Republican Party and through the charitable board. I've noticed lately in our country that diversity seems to be something that is extremely important for all of us. However, it seems that political diversity seems to be a problem, especially in the news. And it appears that in this recent trip that TJ went to Washington and did some interviews, the news portrayed some things in the background that TJ had nothing to do with, and in order to attack him in the news. And I don't think that's a proper thing that we as Americans should tolerate or accept. The images that were portrayed, TJ was not involved in that. And if you've ever been to a large gathering of people where there are banners and flags and signs, just merely being 100 yards away from an event, from an altercation that takes place, you would have no clue that that was occurring. You can't see but about 40 or 50 yards past banners, signs, and the crowd. So this gentleman is, TJ is being judged for something that occurred 400 or 500 yards away from where he was at. He couldn't see it. He couldn't hear it. He wasn't participating in it. But the news has come out and made it seem with what they portrayed on TV as if he was right there. And that is wrong. And that is an attack on him, not because he was involved in it, just simply because of his political affiliation. And that is not what we should be doing in this country. Mason is better than that. America is better than that. And all of us should be better than that. And we should not be allowing ourselves to be incensed by some news article that upsets your emotions, causes you to lack reason, and begin to attack someone you don't even know who they are. You've never met them, and you have no knowledge of how honorable this man is. This is not what America is like, and it shouldn't be what Mason is like. So if your emotions are all stirred up over something you saw on TV and perceived upon this man that you know nothing about, you're wrong. You're wrong. Thank you for giving me the time to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Fry. I think the gentleman in the black jacket is next. And then ma'am in the third row, I think it is. And then I saw a hand in the back. Is there somebody back in the corner that's been waiting? I thought I saw someone in the corner. Okay, ma'am that's waving at me, you can go third. Thank you.
My name is Daryl Pining, 5056 Village Green Drive in Mason. I guess I a couple questions. What does everybody here think I'm intending to say right now? You have no idea. I voted for Trump, and I'm a Republican, and I'm a conservative. So what do you assume I'm going to say right now? I bet you there are assumptions out there. I'm almost guaranteeing it. What if I said, I come from a Democratic family, but I voted for Trump? What if I said I have Black family members directly related to me? What if I said my daughter is going to a public university and I went to a private university and I didn't necessarily want her to? What if I said my daughter, only daughter, and I got 2 stepsons, and she's dating right now an Indian American? What I'm driving towards here is there's a lot of intentions. People are making assumptions on what TJ intended. People are making a lot of assumptions about what his motives are. And I think someone said it earlier that you need to get to know the individual. You need to, if I didn't tell you the stuff I just told you and I said I was a Trump supporter, you would think one thing about me, and that's all you would think if you're on the other side. And that's the truth. I think our community, our country has lost its collective damn mind, is what I think. We are not all the enemies of each other and the Republican and left and right and all that stuff. This is crazy. So I'll just end in saying, I know TJ personally. My wife knows him. He's a good guy. And the attacks need to stop. And I support prayer in this community. I support God, Jesus Christ, and whatever God you want to believe in. But these attacks need to stop across our community and across our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Planey. All right. Thank you, Ms.
Hello, my name is Amy Christensen. My address is 6420 Fieldstone Drive. I came today with not the intent to speak, but to hear and listen. I appreciate Councilmember Honerlaw's statement to find out his role in the insurrection at our Capitol. It's very disturbing to me to see our democracy so attacked, to see murder. The latest few comments I've only heard about what is his intent, and I have no idea. I don't know this man, but I can only assume he went to Washington, D.C. to console the president with his loss or to contest it. Those are the only 2 options. Like, why else would you go? I don't know. And I'm not going to interpret what that is for him. I have no idea. The gentleman early mentioned slavery and how he was grateful for Councilmember Honerlaw standing up to democracy so that we don't have slavery. I think, in my mind, Councilmember Honerlaw is guilty of one thing, and that is choosing extremely poor company, of having very questionable judgment. If we are defending against slavery, why do you march with Confederate flags that stand and honor slavery? That's despicable to me and a very disappointment in my leaders. How, with my Black and colored of any hue fellow citizens, can you come to Mason? That's why I chose Mason, was the diversity of people here. How can you come and say you represent these people when you march with people that despise them? That's so disheartening to me. So disheartening. If the FBI, with their GPS data, finds that Councilmember Honerlaw did not do as he said in his statement and was found to have breached the Capitol property, I would expect his resignation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Christensen. Okay, ma'am, I think in the tan scarf, I think you're next. And then, okay, gentleman with the scarf around your neck, you go next. And then the woman in the back. Okay, and she's in the back corner. I thought I saw a hand up there earlier. Okay, well, we've got three going, and then we'll regroup.
Mercer. I live at 5689 Crestwood Drive in Mason. I do appreciate Councilmember Nelson's suggestion to let Mason residents speak first as the time grows later. I do think you should give priority to constituents of the city council.
Mrs. Mercer, would you mind pulling the mic closer to you? It's difficult to hear you. Thank you. I want to make sure we can hear you well.
Okay, I appreciate the statement that you made, Councilmember Honorlaw. We do have a lot of questions left for you because of the interviews that you chose to do. The first question that I have, and you can answer them at the end, that's fine. So we can get Councilmember Chance home to the football game. We'll just try to speed things up here. I do believe in the First Amendment as well. I believe that everybody has the right to practice any religion they want or not to practice any religion they want. And I would like to echo my friend Karen's concerns. I have come to city council several times. I have only ever heard Christian prayer at this city council. I think that she's right. It turns people off and it puts them on the spot to practice religion in a government building where you guys are meant to do our business, our government business as your constituents, not to conduct church. I also believe in the First Amendment right to protest. I've done it myself. I've gone to Washington, D.C. and marched with hundreds of thousands of people. The issue is there was no insurrection and nobody was murdered when we were there. There was no crime committed. That's why we're all here upset with you tonight, Councilmember Honorlaw. That's why we're very offended by the fact that you went on the Cincinnati.com and Inquirer and interviewed for what's his name in the Inquirer and went on WCPO and Fox 19, making sure every time you spoke, everybody knew that you were a Mason City Council member. So my first question is, why did they call you? Why would they randomly call you on your cell phone on your way to the rally? How did they know that you were going there? And why did they want to talk to you? And why didn't you say no? Why didn't you say, considering my position as an elected member of the Mason City Council, I don't want to talk about my personal trip to Washington, D.C. to be a part of this protest? We also have
Mrs. Mercer, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but it might be easier to just have them address those real quickly right now, since you have a bundle of questions. If we go one by one, it really helps us up here because it's so hard to take notes that fast and listen and come up with an answer all at the same time. So do you want to address?
I can, although that's going to affect her time. So I don't know how you want to, if you want to just pause the time while I speak. So I thought I answered that. You're saying how and why did the media get a hold of me? So as I was driving to DC, Scott Wortman got a hold of somebody that I know who said, do you want to do an interview with Scott Wortman? On the way there, before the event started, before there was anything that went wrong, I decided yes. I did that interview. Once you do that interview, they then post it. It's now online, I think even on Cincinnati.com.
Yeah.
Now the next day, all the TV, evidently, because I don't know anybody in TV, I don't know any TV reporters, they saw that and they came out of the woodwork finding me somehow. One did a Facebook message, and I think, actually, I'm not even sure. I think the other one just texted me. But I mean, they all reached out to me. I didn't reach out to anybody. And probably in hindsight, if I would have known what all was taking place when I did the first interview, yeah, who wants to be associated with what's happening inside that building? But when I gave the interviews, actually, when I gave the first interview, I had no idea because it was the day before. The second interview I gave from the video I showed right there. I did a Zoom video for one of the channels and spun it around and showed what was going on. Okay. The other ones I gave once I got back to the hotel and they were asking for a reaction to it. And I mentioned my reaction. I said it was absolutely wrong. I don't know my exact quote, but I said they should be persecuted to the fullest extent of the law. You heard me say that?
I saw all your interviews and read them all.
So you heard me say that it was wrong and that I had no idea it was going on.
I was more curious about why you just didn't decline the interview, since you are representing more than yourself. Especially when they're asking you about your city council position, you're representing everybody in Mason. When you talk about comparing a insurrection on our nation's capital to the Heritage Day parade, that is extremely offensive and off-putting to me as a resident of Mason. I mean, I've never seen people flying Nazi flags and Confederate flags and wearing neo-Nazi t-shirts that say 6 million wasn't enough, or wearing t-shirts that celebrate concentration camps. I have never seen anybody murdered at a heritage festival. That was so off-putting and so embarrassing as a Mason resident that you continue to go on record and talk about this horrible experience in our democracy right now. But I do have some more questions.
So let me just answer that. So you're assuming what I saw and what I experienced, and I pretty much made it clear what I did experience. I saw the first.
To me, it doesn't matter. If you were at the rally with the president, if you were walking down the street, we all saw the videos and pictures of what happened on Wednesday. There were Confederate flags and neo-Nazis and white supremacists and racists everywhere. They weren't just inside the
I did
Capitol.
not experience that. I didn't see it. I saw the first rebel flag.
Lots of them in your video. When you
Can I finish?
your video,
From that video, I saw the first rebel flag. Maybe I don't know what it looks like, but I didn't notice. I didn't see it. I didn't notice. I saw the
doesn't
Confederate
know
flag
your experience
over by the Capitol, and it was
the world knows is what we've seen happen at the nation's capital now, and now they're associating it with our heritage.
hindsight's 2020. If I could go back and watch that, I could probably pick that stuff out. When I was there, I did not see it.
Mrs. Mercer,
Yep.
have you ever been the subject of a media interview?
Yes.
Okay, so you are familiar that they ask you leading questions. And you may not know the purpose of the story or the theme of the story. The reporter's asking questions. So if he asked,
He's accountable for the end result, is all I'm saying.
well,
City
I
council member-
think we should extend some grace about the Heritage Day parade comment, because he was being asked as an eyewitness and a primary source what he experienced, is my understanding.
I get it. I
So-
understand what they were asking. I understand what he was saying, but nonetheless, now everybody thinks that.
Okay, but I don't think that anyone believes that TJ believed, or Councilmember Honorlaw, that the insurrection and the rioting and all the horrible things that went on, I know that you don't believe he thinks that was comparable to the Heritage Day parade. I know that you don't believe that. Okay. Yes, but he is telling you what his experience was as a primary source. Okay, whoa. We got yelling from the audience. I'm sorry. Ma'am, you may not yell from the audience. I am the chair of this meeting, ma'am. No, ma'am, it is not open. The floor is not open to you, ma'am. You must please stop and be courteous for all that are here. And I apologize. I do have ma'am, not appropriate. I have a very large family, and sometimes people do call out, and I was a classroom teacher, and sometimes I don't notice it right away, and I responded, I shouldn't have. I should have stopped it right there. You shouldn't call out from the audience. You know that's, ma'am. Mrs. Mercer,
Yep.
I was simply trying to add a little bit that reporters ask leading questions. He was answering to the questions to the best of his ability based on what he knew then. And you're doubling down that and you're very upset that he made the choice.
I could interrupt.
Yes.
I appreciate
And
it.
I just want to encourage you to extend some grace, and I'll go ahead and let you finish now, ma'am.
So how did you learn these are questions again that he can answer at the end. These are other questions that, since it's been brought to the public through all of these interviews, we would like to know a little bit more. And considering the number of neo-Nazis and racist and white supremacy groups that were there, how did you particularly find out about the event? And why did you already answered that question? How did you find out about the event? And what did you think the outcome would be? So we have discussed why you went there, but on December 12th, you updated on your Facebook page your Facebook cover with a meme of looked like a Minuteman wearing weapons, standing in front of the Capitol building. And the meme says, "If we don't fight now, there is no point in ever voting again." So that was long before Wednesday. That doesn't sound like you were intending this to be a completely peaceful march or a completely peaceful rally at the Capitol. It sounded like you were expecting fighting, the guy was wearing weaponry, and that it was going to happen at the Capitol. So I would like for you to answer for why you had that on there if you expected only peaceful actions to be taking place.
Mrs. Mercer, I apologize, but we've come to the end of your time.
Okay, well.
Okay, you can go ahead and address her.
Back at that time with all those interruptions. So I'm going to ask my last final question. While you made it clear in the interview that you were there as a private citizen and not in any official capacity, did you not expect the articles would highlight your political position in their headlines and that it was going to represent us? And that's it. And I would say, I would like to echo the suggestion that if there is ever any evidence put forward by the district attorney's office here in Southwest Ohio or the FBI or any law enforcement that Mr. Honor Law was anywhere near the state capitals and breached the barriers, he should immediately resign. And if he doesn't, city council should do whatever they can at their disposal to force him to resign.
Thank you, Mrs. Mercer. Would you like to respond now?
No,
Nope, we're going to keep going. Okay, I have completely forgotten who's next. I think it's the man in the scarf. Come on up. State your name and address. And then there's someone back in the corner, I think, that's been waiting. Still want to go next? Okay, and then there's a woman in front of the pillar. Could you go after her? So thank you. Okay.
Thanks for this time here. Just say my name is D. Curtis. I'm 58 years old. I live at 2025 Highland Street. I've never been in jail. I've never had the police called on me. None of my family members have ever committed any crime at all. Seatbelt maybe. We go to the greatest church in the world, Solid Rock Church, okay? When this virus first started, men were losing their job. The pastor said, men, if you've lost your job, come up front here. We're going to give our monies to you because you got to raise a family. You got to pay them bills. They showed it on CNN that the pastor said, all you that have the virus, come up front. They completely turned it around. And I said all that to say this. If we believe everything we hear and we don't take the time to investigate and we're just running aimlessly in this world by our emotions, you know, then you're going to spin your wheels. And I'm telling you what, you're going to have an awful life because there is one who gave his life that we didn't have to do that. And his name was Jesus. Okay, it doesn't matter. Now, my daughter, she's 16 years old. I got two daughters. They're 19 years apart. Okay. And many of you guys in here know my daughter, Claire, and she is the softest spoken. She's never been in a fight. If somebody says something bad to her, she'll shy away. She wears a Trump hat to church. She gets threatenings all the time on social media to come to our house. They're going to beat her butt. She's prejudiced. She ain't prejudiced. Some of her best friends are black. We're not like that. And the perception is if you like Trump or you support some kind of democracy, you're racist, you're bad. What is wrong with people? You know what? Common sense is gone. It's just gone. This is a man. That's not an idea. He's not Trump. He's a person, and he breathes, and he has rights. What are we doing? Are we even thinking? Are we just so one narrow-minded? We're just going to go down that road, and whoever gets in my way, I can break the law, I can slander, I can accuse. Is that what we're doing? Just take a second to think. You know, there's a lot of things I don't agree with, but I would never, never go out of my way to cause you trouble or to cause you harm. And in fact, you have certain rights. I'll go over and help you, even if I don't agree with it, because we have morals, we have standards. Let's live by them. Live by them. So, you know what? Like I said, he's a man. I'm a man. I have certain rights. I like all the amendments myself, not just the first, but I'll take them all and I'll die with them, you know? But my whole point is this. Think for a second. And if you'll give yourself a few seconds to not even just be caught up in this, maybe God will say something to you that maybe things are just not as they appear, and maybe we can learn. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. All right. Come on up.
My name is Patty Gardner, and I live at 8631 Cottonwood Drive in Cincinnati. And I'm here with the group back in the corner. We all know TJ Hunterlaw. I mostly know him on the political scheme. And I just want to ask, how long have you been on council? Has he done anything wrong in the time that he's been on council except this one situation? How many good things has he done for the city of Mason? You know, he did not go up there with the intent that there was going to be violence. And in all actuality, there was minor violence compared to what has happened in Washington, D.C. before, and in Portland and in Seattle that went on all summer long, and the government did nothing about stopping any of that. We all know that our news media has badgered conservatives for 4 years. They have badgered our president. They would not give anybody a chance to speak their mind. They change everything on the news. We don't even watch the local news anymore because they always twist the story. That's journalism today as we know it, which is very sad. But I just want to know that obviously Mr. Hunterlaw has done a great job. The community voted for him and put him on this council. And for what he has done here, if everybody would just confront him outside and not go around the neighborhood and keep getting 25,000 different stories. But I just want you to know that we support you. You know, like you said a few minutes ago, hindsight's 2020, but there is freedom of speech. And if he follows the president, or, you know, if he follows whatever president, that's his business and he has an opinion. So I would just want to thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mrs. Gardner. Okay, madam, thank you. Come on up. Is there anyone else in the building that would like to be recognized? Okay, gentlemen in the back row.
Make a statement real quick.
Okay.
Do you mind?
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Vera Law, and I live at 5112 Creekstone Court in Mason. And I am just impressed as hell at how many friends TJ Hunterlaw has to come out and speak in his behalf, many of whom don't even live in Mason. But for all of you who don't know, TJ Hunterlaw, in his own words, said he does not care what anybody thinks or support anybody except those people who voted for him. Don't ever forget that. Secondly, I think if you had a choice, wouldn't you have thought about, gee, if I go to this, am I going to get flack from the city council? Am I going to get flack from the people of Mason if I'm going to go to this rally in Washington, considering the political climate as it is now? I think I would have thought about that. And if I'd thought about that a little bit, I might have said, gosh, if somebody called me from the media, maybe I better not talk about the fact that I'm going, because I'm going to get flack about it. I had one other point. What was it? We know who you are because you went to the rally. You supported President Trump and everything that he stands for and all of his lies. That's okay with us. We know who you are, and we are going to make sure the city of Mason and all the voters know who you are next election.
Thank you, Mrs. Long. Oh.
In my opinion, council should be embarrassed by him and should at the very least, should be embarrassed by his attending that rally, and at the very least should censure him and tell the rest of the city council members, remember, whatever you do, you represent the city of Mason in whatever you do.
Thank you, Mrs. Long. Gentleman in the back row.
Mayor.
Oh, while you're
Yeah,
wrapping up,
yeah,
Ms.
real
Hines
quick,
has a comment.
You know, I am a city council member, but I am a father first. First of all, Jeff, thank you for your service. And I wanted to address Daryl, but he left. I think Daryl's theme tonight was, he brought up a bunch of accusations. He brought up a lot of different questions. And I think it was geared around, is it hard to be nice? Is it hard to be nice? And I'm having and so I'm hearing all this, and I understand there's passion on both sides, and I feel that, and I respect that. I really do. I respect TJ's right to go to Washington if he wants to. That's his First Amendment right. Do I agree with him saying it was Mason City Councilman? Maybe not, but he invoked his First Amendment right. And what happened there, I forget who just brought it up, but there's a lot of things going on in this nation that, golly, I'm not proud of. I'm not proud of the Republicans. I'm not proud of the Democrats. I'm not proud of any of it, a lot of it. And it's getting to a point to where I'm like, I'm sitting here listening to these people, and I wish Daryl was here, because I think his point was, is it hard to be nice? And is it hard to stop passing judgment? And I would encourage everybody in here. And again, I understand there's so much heightened stuff up there, and the rhetoric that we hear from this news station and this news station. And, you know, I don't know. Like I said, I wish Daryl was here to say thank you. And again, thank you for your service. Thank you for everybody got to spoke tonight. But I started this with, I am a council member, but I am a father first. And this is probably going to sound really bad. And this is probably going to look really bad. But I promised my 9-year-old, if the Buckeyes made it to the national championship game, I was going to watch it with them. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to pack up, but I will commit to each and everybody, whoever else is going to make a statement here tonight, I will listen to it. I'll go back and replay and listen to it. And I want to ask for grace here, and I apologize, but I'm not letting down my little guy. All right. So you guys have a good night. Thank you. Thank you. And like I said, I promise I will watch the remaining comments.
And Mayor, if I could be heard for just a second.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
Following up on Councilmember Chance's comments, you know, I want to say I'm proud of Mason, and I want to remind us of the first thing we did tonight was acknowledge a $156 million investment with Mercy Health Systems coming in to help develop a health system, a hospital in our community, and the great things that that's going to do for us. I don't want us to lose sight of that as we get on with this discussion, because Mason is a great community. I look forward to all that we've done. I look forward to the greatness that we're going to achieve in the future. And I want us to remember before we leave here tonight that investment is being made, and we have great opportunities to see Mason go forward. So I'll just leave it there.
Thank you. Okay, sir, state your name and address.
Mark Burrell. I live at 6370 Caddy's Way, Mason, Ohio. And I'm a Penn State grad, so I'm not too concerned about the Buckeyes playing. But I'm still going to be short. I wanted to speak on behalf of TJ, just to talk about his integrity. I've known him about 5 years. I've heard some others speak about him and his integrity. I think if you know TJ at all, you know that he's a man of his word. He's been a great friend to me personally. And the idea that he would have gone to Washington and had thought any part of at all about being a part of something like what happened, it's just not TJ at all. I think if you know him, you know that to be the case. I also, like many have said, respect the idea of liberty. We have to be able to share our views. I think that's worth dying for. It's just something that is so important, even for those that you disagree with. And you've got to do it with respect. And I think that's what people were there in Washington to do. Someone asked TJ earlier about what did he think the outcome was? What kind of outcome was he hoping for? My wife and I thought about going to Washington. We just couldn't pull it off. I'm glad he went. And I'm glad, I don't know what the final total was. Certainly tens of thousands of people went. I know if we had gone, our hope was just to stand for our nation. We certainly weren't there to do anything destructive. But I can tell you that there are many people, and I know many friends who were at the rally. We're all concerned about losing our liberty. Look at what's happened over the last weekend with big tech. I mean, this is the kind of thing that we're all very concerned about. And I believe that was, at least from all the people that I know that went, that's what they were wanting to do. They were just wanting to go and make a stand, just to be heard, not to do anything destructive, not to do anything to break the law, but because we're really concerned about losing our liberty, the ability to express our opinions, even if we disagree. And so, again, I just want to stand and support TJ. Thank you for all you're doing. Another person indicated all the great things he's done for Mason, and I echo that. So TJ, thank you for your service. And thank you to all of you who are serving. It's a burden. It's not easy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burrell. Anyone else? Yes, sir. And then ma'am in the front row in the white jacket. And is there anyone else? Okay, we've got someone just at the doorway that just raised your hand. You can go next. So we've got 1, 2, 3.
I'm actually, my name is Jason Moore. I'm actually a Mason resident. I live at 505 West Church Street. I know TJ. TJ, I commend you for standing up for what you believe in. I think more elected officials should do that and do it without fear. I stand by you and I thank you. I do find it appalling that you have to sit up there and defend your visit to Washington. I want to remind everyone that's here that this country is founded on God. And I want to remind people also, aligned in our Pledge of Allegiance, one nation under God. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Carla Blair. I live at 7585 Lakota Springs Drive. So I'm a resident of Westchester, Ohio, but I am looking for property in Mason. And I came here tonight to hear for myself and see for myself how this council operates. I watched the meeting last month online. I'm currently employed at GE Aviation. we've been living in Ohio now for 9 years. I really enjoy my job as a senior financial operations manager. And I looked to council because I was thinking, it's a great place to live and work. I have a lot of coworkers who live here, and they always tell me about the great schools. And I've attended many events at the high school. We had a yearly GE event at the high school. We haven't had it in 2 years now. But as I listened to everything tonight and hearing all the very passionate comments about Councilman Honorlaw, he went to an assembly, a lawful assembly, where people acted unlawfully. But I'm also remembering watching the December Mason City Council meeting last month. And no one is here speaking out about the deplorable behavior that happened at that council meeting. I was upset for almost 2 weeks after watching that meeting and listening to how the council behaved to one another. There was a woman who spoke and she said, "It's so nice to see everybody gets along," and she wanted to see it for herself. Go back and watch some of the prior meetings. No one is speaking out about the bullying behavior that took place. I want to see residents be up in arms about that. But instead, someone who goes to a lawful assembly is being attacked because he was there and because there's assumptions about why he was there, assumptions about what he knew and what he didn't know. But the very council and watching behavior by council members was deplorable, but no one is speaking out about that. We're just gonna gloss over that, so. And I understand it's important to be the voice of your representative, your constituents. I understand that. And I really, it's unfortunate that Councilmember Chance left, but you know, I would say we teach our children about the golden rule to treat others the way we want to be treated. But I would say treat others the way you would want your spouse to be treated. He said, I'm a father first, and I love that. Family first, that's great. Well, if your daughter was the mayor, how would you want your fellow councilmen, men and women, to speak to your daughter? If you were sitting out here and watching your daughter being attacked and disregarding the rules time and time again, speaking when you're not supposed to speak, would you be okay with that? The march, you talk about people carrying Confederate flags. How can you control that? You don't go there expecting that. I mean, people have the right to assemble and carry flags. I mean, you can't stop things like that. And we are all accountable to someone. So when we make, as councilmen and women, you make your remarks, people are watching and they're listening. And if this room were full of prospective future council people, maybe high school, junior high, you're their example. You're their example. Be the example. And the gentleman who spoke about his family, his very diverse family, I've never said this publicly because I understand what it's like to be a Republican in a Democrat society. I understand what it's like to be a Black woman who votes for Trump unabashedly, unashamedly. And I understand there are things he says and does that irritate me to no end. I get it.
Blair, I'm really sorry. You've come to your end of the time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Blair. I believe there's a woman in the doorway back there. Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else in the building? Okay, I just saw the person next to the glass, the woman in the back row, and then in front of her, there's two hands. Why don't you two men go next? You can work it out.
I'm here to show my support for TJ. Every American citizen's.
Ma'am, could you give us your name and address?
Tina Helsinger, 1178 Poplar Hill Drive.
Tina Helsinger. Okay, and if you could tip that mic a little closer to you. Thank you.
I'm here to show my support for TJ and every citizen's First Amendment right. I know TJ personally, and I'm honored to call him a friend. We cannot keep blaming each other for other people's actions. I'm not responsible for anyone's actions in this room. Any of you could break out into craziness right now, and what you're saying, some of these people are saying, is that I would be responsible for it. Think about that. I'm not responsible for any of your actions. But you're saying TJ was responsible for actions of other people in a huge city. He has publicly condemned the breaking into the Capitol, the rioting, and the violence. He has stated it was wrong publicly and in this meeting. Every previous Trump rally was peaceful. Why would he expect this one to be any different? We cannot, oh, sorry, I said that. He had every right to be in DC supporting our president and his First Amendment right. TJ, I want to thank you for standing up for what you believe is right, even as you're being attacked for it. If more Christians would stand up and quit warming the pew, maybe our country wouldn't be in the position it is today. Thank you, TJ.
Thank you, Mrs. Helsinger. And then there's the woman along the windows. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lori Mayak. My address is 10237 Meadow Knoll Drive, Loveland. I grew up in Mason. I've known TJ, I'm embarrassed to say, probably 48 years. And I've known the most of the Hunter Law family. I can speak for TJ's character. I know what he was like growing up when he was young. He treated everyone very nicely, the utmost respect. And I know that's how he is now as well. He's always been that way. And I could say his family's that way too. I've had numerous interactions with members. The way the TJ's character is actually very reflective of Mason. We were here when Mason was very tiny and our high school was very small. Everyone knew everyone. So when the social media came up and we're all making contact with people, we're contacting those often who are from our past that we know, we remember. We have that in common. And we don't think about, what political party the other person is from. It doesn't matter. What we have in common is our experience growing up, the town we came from, our pride in being Comets. And so my point is, why do we get so upset and so emotional when someone else doesn't agree with our opinion? Since when can we not have an opinion? I mean, he and I, we happen to be both Christian conservatives, but if he wasn't, would that matter to me? No, he would still be an old classmate of mine. So I was watching the photos from TJ and I thought, I could feel the excitement. He was excited about people who were showing their pride in our country, just like we had pride for Mason. And he was there because he was concerned about our country going in a place that most Americans don't want it to go. And that is why there were so many people there. They wanted to be heard and seen and to know this is not what we want. Because I will leave those opinions to myself. Obviously, the results did not reflect what a large percentage, the majority of Americans thought. But it pained me as I was conversing a little with TJ, excited for him, but wanted him, to be careful, stay safe. And when he told me after returning that he was being attacked, even being threatened, it pained me. I thought, he does not deserve that. He is not in no way responsible for what some fools went and did on their own. So give him that same respect. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Mayak. I think we had a couple gentlemen in the back row that wanted to be recognized.
Hi, I'm Chad Seitz, 5931 Sosaville Foster. I wanted to say a couple comments to some of the things that have been said tonight, and then a couple other comments, and then I've got a video and it will still all be under the 3 minutes. So I'll jump in. Number one, somebody mentioned something about the flack you're gonna take. I say, who cares about flack? Is the idea only to believe in what you believe based on what somebody is gonna give flack or not? We don't need another politician that only wants to hold up their finger to the prevailing winds. So the fact that you went there, nothing wrong with that. You shouldn't be held up responsible or accountable for what somebody else does. I can't say any better than the woman before me who eloquently put that. Number two, anytime somebody says I'm a believer in the First Amendment, but is a problem. It's a big problem. And what I've learned, and I'm not a wise man, but what I've learned is everything after that is usually horse crap. I want to play a video to kind of reset and help us think what we've been through, because we've all been through a lot this year. Those that, whether it be political differences or COVID differences and everything else, it's been a tough year for all of us. But I don't want to forget or lose sight what led us to this point right here.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be. People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
You know, there needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized up to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife.
Yes.
He came down the escalator and called Mexicans rapists and murderers. He said, well, what do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him. Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
Look, as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
And sadly, the domestic enemies to our voting system and our honoring our Constitution are right at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should not.
If you think we're rallying now, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Seitz.
Wow. My name's Rick Seitz, 5931 Socialville Foster. I've learned a lot tonight. I'm shocked, utterly shocked that in America, we have to come up here and defend a man's right to go out there and peacefully assemble, and that he has to apologize or try to make amends for it. And that because he has an opinion that differs from other people's, he should not have been allowed to attend because they don't agree with the candidate that he supports. A candidate that received almost 75 million votes in this recent election, 12 million more than received in 2016. And this man has to stand up here and justify that he went up there and he's being accused of because he was a father or because he's a small business owner or because he's a city councilman. I don't care what he is. He has the right to go up there and do it. And because certain people don't agree with the policies or the politics of the candidate that you choose, TJ, these people don't want a political discussion with you. They do not want to know your opinion. They don't want a diversity of views from you. Maybe you haven't figured this out, but they want obedience. They want submission. They want compliance. And if you're not going to give it to them, they're going to punish you. And they're going to punish everybody else here for the same thing. And people better wake up, because they're coming for you next. And I don't care what side, if you're Republican or Democrat, the minute your opinion isn't what they want, they're coming after you too. They're coming after you too. So let me get this on the record. I condemn the violence. And I know that TJ has said that repeatedly, as has Donald Trump, repeatedly. In fact, as soon as he started condemning it again, Twitter took him off, as did Facebook, because that does not meet with the message that they want him to be allowed to give. I think we all need to consider something and remember something. Guilt under the law is not individual. I'm sorry, it is individual. It's individual in nature. It is not by association. If it's by association, there's a lot of people in this room that are in trouble, because I've seen you hanging around a lot of other politicians before, and you're just as guilty as they are. I watched month after month after month as Democrats rioted. And sure, some of them were peaceful, but a lot of them weren't. They burned, they looted, they tore down statues, they decimated, literally and physically, small business after small business, office buildings, federal government buildings. They destroyed people's lives. 30 plus people are dead. They caused $2 billion plus worth of damage by Democrat rioters and protesters. So I'm shocked to see all the faux outrage tonight. I'm shocked to see all the pearl clutching by a bunch of people that I haven't heard say a thing about their very politicians that supported those Democrat riots and encouraged them. We just watched the incoming Vice President of the United States tell us, she was referring to, go look it up, she was referring to the rioters, tell us it's not going to stop. Big hint, America. You're going to comply, you're going to submit, you're going to do what we want, because these riots will continue. Until we beat you in submission and you do what we want, they will continue.
Mr. Sykes, I apologize, but we've come to the end of your time.
Well, that's awesome. There was a precedent set earlier by multiple people, so I'll continue for another minute. Our vice president begged people to donate money. You know what's interesting? In those riots, they didn't arrest any peaceful protesters. You didn't see one story on CNN about them arresting peaceful protesters. Who was arrested? The violent ones, the ones that were shooting, killing, hitting people with weapons, the ones that were burning down small businesses, desecrating the federal buildings. And what did Kamala Harris do? She was all over the place begging people to donate to the Minnesota Bail Fund, to bail out the violent rioters. And we have people tonight saying that this man needs to step down because he went to a peaceful protest. He didn't ask anybody to bail out did you ask anybody to bail out the violent rioters?
No.
Did you do any violence?
No.
Did you promote violence?
No.
Then why is this man being accused of sedition or whatever the crazy things we've heard tonight? Where's the outrage over our incoming vice president threatening us, intimidating us, and providing money to bail out the actual violent rioters that did destruction? So I guess I'll end with this. If there's any one of you that want to speak out against this man that can show me where he did violent acts, where he promoted it, I'll be the first to stand by your side and say, pull him out. But until then, your faux outrage is nothing but a political tool. That's it. thank you for going and representing the freedoms and the rights that we have as Americans.
Thank you, Mr. Seitz. Okay. Audience, we need to not applaud. Is there anyone else in the building that is waiting to speak? Ma'am in the doorway, anyone else? Or miss, I can't tell, but you look very young. I'm sorry I called you ma'am. That would have hurt my feelings. Come on up. Oh, you're still so young. She's just a baby. Okay, anybody back there that I can't see? I really can't see what's in the overflow room, but hopefully we can come to a conclusion with the people in the building and get to our online callers. Miss, if you could just state your name. I'm promoting you to Miss. Okay.
My name is Sabrina Hartshorn, and I live at 3601 Wayne Avenue, and that's in Dayton. I used to actually go to school down here in Mason, and I just want to say I don't personally know TJ, but everything that I've heard, and I just want to say thank you for going, because I myself was not able to go. I apologize right now. I'm nervous. I don't like speaking in public. But I also want to say that as a conservative, I'm glad that you went, and you should not have to apologize or even make a statement as to why you were there. From where I see, from what you showed, where you were standing, who would know what was going on, first of all. Second of all, I don't see why they're telling you to step down, because you did absolutely nothing but your First Amendment right. So I just want to say thank you, and I'm done.
Thank you very much. Okay, sir in the front row.
Chuck Blair, 7585 Lakota Springs. I'm not going to say that I know TJ, so I'm going to talk to you from a different angle. I'm a U.S. veteran. I fought for his right, just as I fought for your right, just as I fought for your right, and served for your right. So it bothers me as American, because that's what I believe I am first. Actually, first, I'm a Christian. But it bothers me as an American that we can't get along anymore. I grew up during the era of the riots of Detroit. I was a senior in high school and watched the National Guard go down 8 Mile and make camp in our state fairgrounds. I know what violence is. I know what violence can do. I've seen peaceful protest, and I've seen violent protest. Seems like the peaceful ones get more done and bring America together than the violent ones. So, TJ, I thank you for going and doing what you believed in your heart was right. I have no problem with that, just as he condemned the violence there. That's what gets the headlines. If you remember the civil rights movements, they marched. And it was the violent people actually came from the government. It was the National Guard. It was the police officers that were shooting the water cannons, that were shooting at peaceful protesters. I witnessed that growing up. I am proud to be an American. I'm not always proud of what we do, but there's not another country that I would move to. I respect the rights, and I respect your rights, and God forbid if somebody with a Confederate flag moves into your neighborhood. God forbid if a Christian was to hang a flag next to you that you don't want there. Even a Christian flag, LGBTQ flag, they have a right. I know. I served for that right that you could do this. Did I go to war? No, I stayed right here in the United States of America. But I seen and know, and I was trained to do the violence if I was called. And I would have done it because I'm American. TJ, thank you for standing up for your right. You have done nothing wrong in my eyes.
and for a lot of people here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Blair. Thank you for your service to our country. And sir, in the front row, you mentioned you wanted, okay, he had something to follow up on. And then do we want to go ahead and encourage our online callers to raise their hand if they're still waiting? Okay.
I'm just going to say really quickly,
Oh, could you state your name one more time?
Jeff Battles, sorry,
And address?
280 West Pekin Road.
Thanks, Jeff.
I'm just going to say really quickly, I was raised in a racist environment. In fact, several years ago, I remember telling even Muslims here in America that they had to take their turban off and put a ball cap on their head. And that's the way I treated people. I was raised that way. And I had a lot of hate in my heart. I hated a lot of people. And I saw that same spirit here tonight. There were two types of people here. There was people that were standing in your defense, and there were people that were coming to attack. And I'm saddened. I'm saddened by it. I'm not outraged. I'm not angry. I'm saddened by it because I lived so many years of my life thinking that way about other people. And this is just my story, so I'm not preaching to anybody, but I'm going to tell you, I met Jesus in the midst of all this. And I'm going to tell you something. God not only took a racist like me, God not only took somebody like me who hated other people, who had a difference of opinion, who looked different than me, but now we travel across the world. I have little kids from Africa that call me every single Sunday morning to show me the new songs that they learned in English. I have kids from the Middle East that call me every single week to tell me how much they love me and they can't wait because God transformed my life. And I'm just telling you right now, whether you have a difference of opinion, whether you have anger in your heart, I'm telling you right now that I still love you. I love you because God touched my heart in such a way. And yes, it hurts me. It breaks my heart for this man. It really does. But you know something? The Bible says you're going to be persecuted for those beliefs. But I'm talking to everybody else who has the vileness in your heart right now. I've spent most of my life there. And I'm telling you right now, you might not agree with what I'm saying, but you have to understand something. You have to surrender that to Jesus because he will change your life completely. And that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Battles. Okay, I do see a couple more hands. We have a gentleman in the back against the glass that hasn't addressed council yet. And if you want to come on up.
Members of council, Mark Hackey, 3620 Dunlop Court. I've been up here many, many times. As a Republican, well, I'm not even going to go down that path. I didn't prepare anything tonight, but I feel like I need to say something. I need to address a few things. One, you mentioned, I'm sorry, a young lady up here in the front. I don't remember your name. Go back and look at some of the recorded meetings. You'll see that people have addressed concerns with council. Mr. Blair, is that correct? Thank you for your service. I'm also a veteran, and that's what I wanted to talk about. I spent 20 years of my life supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States. Mr. Honerlaw, you and I don't see eye to eye often. One thing I want to say tonight is I 100% support your right to have gone to Washington and to show your support of the president. I personally would not have done it, but I support you and I defend your right to do that. That's what I spent my life, 20 years of it, supporting and defending. You're absolutely within your right to do that. I feel you showed a little bit of a lack of judgment in speaking to the press. I don't think you shed a very good light on yourself and on the city by doing so. I think that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hackey. All right. Did you want to follow up with something, This is Carla Blair. If you could go ahead and state your name and your address one more time for the record.
Carla Blair, 7585 Lakota Springs Drive. Just really quickly, last thing I wanted to say was that Councilman Chance asked the question, is it hard to be nice? And it's not. It's not. It just requires you letting go of some things, such as your right to be right and to and to overtalk other people, but it's not hard to be nice. And lastly, I just wanted to remember JJ Day. I know there's a lot going on in the country right now, but there's a family here in Mason who is grieving the loss of their 9-year-old. Even though I don't know the Day family, I know their neighbors who are friends of mine. And so I'm just asking for a moment of silence, not necessarily prayer, but a moment of silence to remember their family and to keep them in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Let's do that. I think that would be lovely right now. Remembering JJ Day, Mason third grader, who suddenly passed away over the weekend. Thank you, everyone. Well, I think we may still have some folks waiting. I don't see any more hands in the building. Mrs. Oh, we do have a hand. I'm sorry, Miss. Come on up.
My name is Jody Briggs, 4868 Long Drive in Liberty Township. And I just want to say, I really had no intention of speaking tonight, but I do want to support TJ because at the end of the day, it does not matter whether we agree or we disagree. We have that right in this country to do and say the things that we feel that we can do and say. And those rights were given to us by God, not by man. And so it is the job of every council member from the city level up to the federal government to protect those rights. It's not to impede on those rights because they are inalienable. That's the way that our foundation was set up. And therefore, I personally agree that you should have gone. I'm a conservative, I'm a Christian, so I voted for Trump. I'm a single mom, I'm Spanish. I may not fit what everybody thinks that a Trump supporter should look like, but that's because the perceptions of other people are inaccurate. And it doesn't matter. It's the foundation of your belief that matters. And so I stand up for you and I support you. And I think that you did nothing wrong. And as an example, I go to a church where we have drug addicts that come in every Sunday. Just because I choose to go to that church every single Sunday doesn't mean I'm a drug addict. It means that I'm the light, that I'm going there as a light to something that is dark. And so that I can pour into other people and to be there for other people. So your intentions, people may think that I go to a church that they disagree with because there's certain types of people there, but that doesn't matter. I'm still gonna go just like you should have gone, and everybody should just relax. In all honesty, we have the freedoms to do and say things in this country, and I will fight for those to the death. That's the way this country was founded. I really don't even know why this is an issue. I really don't. So I support you and I commend you. And as far as I know, Mason is a conservative city. I believe that that's probably how you got in here. I think most people in this city voted for Trump. I'm assuming that's how you got into office because it's a conservative city. So it should be of no surprise that you're supporting conservative values. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Briggs. Okay, let's go ahead and tackle our online callers. Do we have anyone with a hand up? We don't. Okay, and last call. Oh, we got one. All right, awesome.
Mr. Dominique Peranio, if you'd like to address council, you can go ahead.
All right, can you guys all hear me good?
Yes, and could you go ahead and give us your name again? I missed that.
Yeah, my name is Dominic Pereno, and my address is 6868 Heritage Club Drive. I'd just like to start by saying thank you to all members of council who have taken time out of their busy schedules of failing to display literally any leadership qualities to be here with us today and for giving me the opportunity to speak. I know we're cutting into precious OSU time right now, but I promise they will be good next year, so you guys can catch it then. The reason I wanted to say something today is because I feel like there's an abject failure in the leadership of the city. People tonight have tried to frame this as an issue of people not being nice. But when you take the role of public office, you put yourself up to a higher standard. And frankly, they're not entitled to us being nice to them in their official role as a member of city council, especially in conditions like this. So obviously in attendance at the rally, which spurred a failed coup attempt, was TJ Honor-Law. Many have spoken here today, supposed friends of TJ talking in his defense, and many of these have said they're defending his right to free speech. To anyone who said this, I have not heard a single person say that he did not have the right to be at this rally. He absolutely has freedom of speech, but he does not have freedom for the consequence of his speech, especially as a public official. So that's what's happening right now, is he's facing the consequences of that speech. Frankly, to all of those who have spoke on his behalf, I don't have to take your word. We can take his based on what he has said. I think that what we will see and what we have seen is that he will continually show us his true colors. He said he condemns those who committed an act of treason against our country and left the rally before the storming of the Capitol. In an interview to WCPO, he also said at the beginning of this meeting, he was not aware of any illegal activity. Notice how this is a really slithery way to rephrase the overall tone. In the same interview, he openly admits he was concerned about the possibility of violence while he was present and still decided that it was a great event. This was, of course, the part of the event where President Trump outlined his plan to march to the Capitol, and Rudy Giuliani called for trial by combat, which he called, once again, a great event. This is to say, if he tells you he was not aware of any illegal activity, he's disguising the fact that with the president and his right henchmen calling for violence, it was all but an endorsed inevitability for all who marched towards the Capitol. The fact that he was at the rally at all, that he holds these beliefs at all, is enough to judge him. These are the beliefs of the men and women he himself condemns. A man who openly admits, and I really can't stress this enough, that he thought the event was great despite the looming implication of violence which he picked up on. Now, it's clear he has no intention of appearing to represent me or a majority of the city of Mason. How do I know this? Well, you can look past his abysmal record, look directly to his own words. Rather than try to be an even marginally unifying force in our divided city, Mr. Honor-Law openly admitted to only representing the people who voted for him. Now, keep in mind, he was elected with 2809 votes in a city with a population of over 30,000, meaning he's on the record that he does not represent over 90% of people who live in Mason. Now, am I surprised that a politician who owns up to the fact that he doesn't represent over 90% of his constituency would attend a rally with the sole purpose of overthrowing democratically verified election results? No, because he's long let us know what kind of person he is. I'd also like to say I find it particularly ironic that he recited the pledge at the beginning of this, given that the mob he was a member of openly brandished the Confederate battle flag throughout his time at the rally and ultimately ended up waving it in the halls of Congress. It seems like this group of traitors advanced farther north than their 1860s counterparts ever did. But like he said, he forgot what it looked like, so it's probably all fine. In the end, I'll just end by saying this. There will be a new president on January 20th, whether you like it or not. That's because a majority of the country doesn't believe what you believe. And if you think otherwise, then no amount of evidence can convince you. And while he has brought dishonor to the city of Mason, as you have already nicely pointed out for the rest of us, you do not represent us. You do not represent the teachers in the schools who are the backbone of the community and will teach our children to be better than you ever will be. You do not represent our amazing students who are the pride and joy of the town. And as you've clearly shown, you do not represent anybody in this community who believes that democracy is worth it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Perino. Is there anyone else? Okay. Is anybody on council have a comment before we wrap things up? It's almost time for that motion to adjourn. All right, hold on. I got to give you the floor. Vice Mayor, would you like to make a motion to adjourn? Thank you. Do we have a second? All right. We need to call the roll, or are we just in all in favor? Okay, we just need an all in favor. All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you everyone for joining us and for staying with us tonight. It's great to have you all here, all of you. Thank you.